Hello, 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 hello. How are we doing today? Is there connectivity? My internet was acting a little funny earlier, so we're rolling the dice. And we're going live anyway. Oh man, I'm struggling today. I'm struggling, everybody. Ooh, you know what? I didn't even bring up my chat. I had the YouTube chat open, but not the website chat. Hello, luxander.net/live. How are you today? Okay, I would like that window to be down and that one can be closed. And now I want this one back. Thank you. Oh, was that the end of last stream? I think it was the end of last stream. Shout out to Kimmy ZM from the future. Speaking to the past. Meow, indeed. Hello, early gang. True. What's up, Gayfesh? Hello, Baphomet. Hello, Kitty. There's Uncomfy. Nice. Lots of people hanging out in the YouTube chat today. So yes, this Jesus Christ, the title of the stream, is intended to be more of an exclamation of like, Jesus Christ, like what's going on here? And also like, Jesus Christ, I want to die. I don't actually. I'm just having cramps. You know? The allegedly monthly cramps. So I'm doing the limited amount that I can do. I took ibuprofen yesterday. Girl, I don't think that helped. And I try not to take meds like that and anyway. And if like they're not helping, then it's like, shit, all right, what's the point? I made some rose chamomile tea because chamomile is supposed to be good for cramps. But I decided to try soy milk instead of milk in my tea. And it like split or something. And it ruined the whole cup of tea. And I'm really sad about it. I'm just gonna complain. But yeah, so today might be somewhat of a shorter stream. I don't know. I have been like in a lot of pain and probably not in the best mood, so we're gonna truck along We're gonna try. I even had dark chocolate for dinner last night and it didn't help, guys. God. You mean we aren't discussing Jesus of Nazareth? I mean, we could. There is every possibility. I think we actually did talk about Jesus of Nazareth last time because I remember talking about, like, religious persecution and whether I would be willing to work with religious institutions in order to do stuff like working to help the homeless community or something like that. And I was talking about how if the definition of Christian is someone who follows the teachings of Jesus Christ, then in some ways I am more of a Christian than some American Christians, like people who claim to be that. But anyway, so technically we did talk about Jesus of Nazareth this week. But excuse me. Hello. I hope that y'all are doing well. It's that midweek check-in. See, we went on a little adventure this week. That's something exciting. When you move to a new place and you get to be like, ooh, there's this new stuff to explore. Honestly, at this time of the year, frankly, it's a lot of like, ooh, here's this cool small business that we can visit. And we've got so many hobbies. So I'm like trying to find all the different places, even remotely nearby, that cater to our hobbies. And it's so crazy. Like I have this planner, right? I like to buy a planner most years. And sometimes I'll do it just for stuff like tracking my periods or whatever. Like sometimes I'll try to use it as a little bit of a diary. But this one in particular, and I don't even know that I would have thought to do any of this if this didn't just have it built in, but at the beginning of this book, it has a bunch of pages that are like, okay, what are your goals for this year? And it has the whole like, here, I'm just gonna, they're all split into segments. So like goals for the year, career, finances, physical health, organization, blah, blah, blah. And you can like write your general goals on this page. And then the next page you flip over is my goals, action steps. So on this one, you set like, okay, so if my general goal is to save money, then how specifically on this page, how specifically am I going to do that? So like, making a plan for saving, to, making a commitment to put a certain amount of money in savings per month, that type of thing. It's like, okay, so now I'm making like a concrete plan, right? One of the other things is like, I want to focus on my style more. I'm at this stage in my life where I basically just wear tank tops. Where even is the tank top? I just wear tank tops every day. And I'm like, because it's comfortable. But I would like to think about my style more. So like, okay, how can I do that? Well, I can go to the thrift store more often and like actually try to get some clothes that fit and are stylish, So I've kind of been feeling very motivated by this. And it also has, a page where it gives you a place to write down daily habits, weekly routines, monthly rituals, and annual actions. And then also a couple pages later, it has a my year bucket list of like one-time accomplishments that you want to make. So that's been really great. And this has elucidated how many fucking hobbies I have. It's like, I'm like, okay, well, blah, 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 and I might forget about one of them. Like one that I had forgotten about, one of my hobbies that I had forgotten about was, they do have morel mushrooms up here, because that was something I was actually pretty bummed out about. The prospect that moving away from Kansas means I don't get to eat morel mushrooms anymore. So sad, Yeah, so, but there are morels up here, and now I'm like, okay, well, let me join some groups for morel hunting and maybe buy a couple specific PNW foraging books. I do have at least one foraging book that I think could be applicable to this part of the country anyway, but finding a couple of specific ones so that I can learn that type of stuff. I'm just like, oh shit, yeah, I forgot an entire hobby that I have or that I want to get into, which is foraging. And it fits in nicely with one of my other hobbies that I have, which is being a foodie, Ooh. What's up, Nikki? Says, I'm glad I can catch this stream because I organize a community gaming event on Sundays at the same time as your stream. Hey, I really encourage people getting involved in their communities, and no worries about the Sunday stream. I know there's no perfect schedule, no matter what. No matter what, I'm picking a day of the week where like someone else is also streaming, or the big game is on, or it's a day where people commonly do other things, like, oh, Friday night doesn't work because that's the night that everybody wants to go out and go to a movie, or like, go visit friends or something, right? So like every single thing you have to be like, all right, well, there is no perfect day. And actually, I think my original stream schedule, I don't remember if we are still on the same stream schedule. I don't think we are, but my original stream schedule was designed uh, because I wanted to hang out at another streamer's stream. And I also kind of figured, like, oh, this is a streamer who's kind of like me. Maybe we'll end up sharing an audience. And so instead of having competing shows, let's just go every other day or whatever. But since then, it has evolved. And now I stream fewer days per week. And there have been times, I would assume that I would have a fairly similar type of audience as someone like Vosh. But there are times where people who I know in this community who like Vosh are here instead of there when he is streaming. So, it all just comes down to personalities and flavors and like who do you like to hang out with, basically. So, but yeah, Sunday, I know is not the best day for everybody, but it is the day that makes the most sense to reach the overseas audience and potentially get plenty of people in America who are not at work on the Sundays. So, shit happens. I've thought about maybe doing like surprise streams, or like, maybe, I don't know. It's just still like it's a steady routine in my life, and it's a steady form of income. So I don't know that I want to go to like a not having a schedule and just going whenever. Because I think what'll end up happening is I don't do it often enough. But yeah, I had every intention today of working on my video essay, because I recorded it before I fucking moved. I think, and I'm concerned now that enough time has passed. There's like this weird thing that happens, and I don't know if this works with other forms of art. So y'all have to tell me, like, does this resonate with you with any of your projects or anything that you work on? Like, I am not the same person that I was a month ago. I've been through things that person has not been through. So if I look at that recording and just the way that I performed the script, and I might even have things about the script that I would like to rewrite now that it's been a month since I recorded the script. But yeah, I'm like, I don't know. If I had been working on it consistently through this time, maybe it would feel a little different. But I feel like because there's a gap now between what was going on when I first recorded it and now, that I'm like, I think I need to like basically start over. Not entirely start over, like maybe use the skeleton of my original script, but I feel like I'm going to need to change it significantly. I guess it's just that sense of when you're an artist, and like art is writing is a form of art. I'm just gonna categorize myself as an artist, even though I kind of feel like that's maybe a little bit undeserved, but subject to revision. And with any work, you, at a certain point, it's never really finished. You just stop tweaking it at some point. At some point you just have to go, okay, I'm done touching it. I can still see that, oh, I could change this, this, and this, but I'm just going to stop and give it to the world now, and I can't change it again, And I kind of like that artistically, that at a certain point with your art, you have to just give it up and like let it go to the world and acknowledge that you were, like, that you grew or something. I don't know. It's complicated. If you add in notes about how just weeks were enough to add perspective, might be powerful. That's an interesting concept, Luke, because someone who I really admire, and you all might not know her, Princess Weeks. She's a video essayist, and she is she has like an English degree, and she's pretty cool. But she, I don't know if it's a consistent habit or if it's maybe something she just did like once or twice, but she, at this one point, she recorded the conclusion much later. Or like she did the main part of the video script and she recorded that. And then when it was time for her to record her conclusion, she did that like after she was almost done editing, because like through the process of editing, she was able to realize like, okay, this is a point that I missed and stuff. And God, it is kind of annoying sometimes when you're most of the way through a project And then you get into the editing phase and you're like, oh, wow, there was this entire critical point that I should have made, or even just an aside that would have covered more of your bases. And you're like, well, unless I do one of those weird little like, hey, this is editing, Moss. I'm going to make a correction, and like, am I going to turn on the camera for that? Like, I don't know. There's just, it sucks when you realize that far into your project that you're like, shit, I missed this important point. So I kind of like that Princess Weeks does that, where she just deliberately films the conclusion later. And she also doesn't seem to bother to like do it in the same clothes or do it on the same set. She's just like in different clothes in front of her computer now, and now she's giving you the conclusion to the video. But yeah, I like her a lot. I like the casual kind of tone and approach that her channel has. And if there is any one video essayist that I'm like, I'm taking a lot of inspiration from, it's definitely her. Oh my god, I just haven't scrolled down website chat. I thought that you all were just like silent for like 20 years. But there, I see you again. What's up, Drea? Drea says, I want to see Goth Moss. I know. I'm so excited to do that when I am less tired. And I'm so excited to do so many things. Exercising, da-da-da. If the forecast holds, it seems like it's going to be in the 50s and 60s here soon, which I'm very excited for. I see a lot of people who write video essays cut in voiceover alterations. I know, but it's just like, not my favorite way to do creative notation, Art isn't finished, it's abandoned. Exactly. You just kind of have to fucking put it down. Vosh's recent autism takes are insufferable. Oh no, I've missed this. I have no idea what he said. Can I buy 10 more degrees? I wish. I wish you could buy them from me. I don't sell them. I don't have any in stock right now. Happy to hear you're feeling much more optimistic about life. Yeah, I mean, being away from the toxic background radiation of being in a red state honestly makes a huge difference to your well-being. But I already talked about that last stream, so I'm not going to harp on it too much here. But like, yeah, obviously I would be much more upset if I also felt bad about like what was happening in my local politics scene while also, on my period, and also everything's happening with Trump and Elon. So anyway, yeah. Oh my gosh. I would assume your new place has a more fungus-friendly climate, which is a mixed blessing. I'll tell you that much. That's fair, baby squid. Yeah, I mean, it sort of depends on which mushrooms, right? Certain mushrooms prefer warmer or colder or more wet or more dry. Like the particular set of circumstances that are required for morel mushrooms, like it's, and it's one thing for the area to be good at supporting fungus. It's a different thing if fungal spores of morel mushrooms have never been here before, right? But that's not the case, it turns out. I did think that would be the case, but it isn't. So morel mushroom spores now being here, then you can look at, okay, like, it's weird. In Kansas, they'll tell you things like, okay, you have to go morel hunting the day after it rains, and you'll find them on the sides of the hills in mid-morning, like, but the side of the hill that you're finding them on is like they're still in the shadow. So like the air is warm, but the ground is still cool, and it's a little bit moist, but it's starting to get dry. Like those are the kinds of instructions people give you when they're telling you to fucking hunt morels in Kansas. Baby Squid says some of the Vosh takes re autism seem like RFK levels of scientific illiteracy. TBQH. Okay. We do chanterelles here. Yes, I was Googling, and chanterelles are also well supported in the Willamette Valley. Morel hunting is dog eat dog. People get way protective over their secret spots. That's true. That's why I want to make friends with like. So I think that here are the ways that I'm going to get in. Here's how to get into somebody to show you the morel spots. Because like my partner knew someone back in Kansas before we moved who was like willing to show my partner some morel spots, right? Do you fuck with chicken of the woods? I've never eaten it. I don't know. Probably. I like mushrooms in general, so probably. But it's like I like to hunt morel mushrooms because it's almost physically impossible to misidentify a morel mushroom. Even the lookalikes are hilariously, obviously not the same. Um, but yeah, uh, wow, the cramps they're coming back. Mm, RFK levels of scientific illiteracy. I'm not clued into what Vosh has said recently. Although, again, given his takes on COVID and the fact that he doesn't seem to adhere to the same level of respect for the scientific process, and that being a method by which to discover truth, as I do, you can be very similar to a person in a lot of ways and then like fundamentally have like a pretty big difference of processing information that's just like I don't think I will ever be on the same page as people who don't like independently go look up the information on their own. Like if you're not already doing that, then like I don't think that we have the same set of values. Oh gosh. Mm. Someone I think asked earlier, like, where are you so that we could recommend stuff to do. I'm in the Willamette Valley, like basically anything from Vancouver down to Eugene. Like, I'm cool to try it out and go there. I'm so excited for the weather to get warmer because I want to go to the coast. Okay, when I was a kid, my mom like my my brother's dad is from Florida. So occasionally we would visit Florida because of his family. So I've been to the Atlantic Ocean. I've been to the Atlantic Ocean and I've swam in it and, gotten the blistering sunburn and all that shit. Been there, done that. I've never been to the ocean on the West Coast before. So, and I know that you don't really swim in it, like it's different in that way. And it obviously like it's still the cold time of year. I don't know, could you swim in it when it's like 90 degrees in the summer? But I'm aware that you don't really swim in the Pacific Ocean, at least this far north. But mostly I want to just like look and explore and get to see. I haven't seen any ocean I mean, since before I turned 20. So 11 years ago at least. Like it's probably been more like since I was like 10 or younger even. Um, so yeah, I'm really excited to get to go to the beach, get to walk around. What I'm most stoked about is being able to see the sunset, because like seeing the sunset over the water I think would be really beautiful. Vancouver, Washington is an extension of Portland, Oregon. They share the Columbia River border. Yeah, I know. I kind of was just saying like for me to easily travel to someplace like as far as the north end of Portland is kind of what I was trying to communicate by saying Vancouver. And then if I'm going to make a trip into Washington proper, I'm going to probably take some additional time to plan that. I am going to do that, but it just is going to require some additional, like, you know, really thinking about, like, okay, when am I going? How am I getting there? How long am I staying? Sometimes I Google stuff I know just to be sure. Fair enough. Oh, no worries, Drea. Gotcha. But yes, I meant Vancouver as in Washington because it is, yeah, it's like anywhere in the Willamette Valley stretch. I'm pretty much good to go. I admit I was hoping you'd be on the Washington side. Yeah, there's too many people up there. Sorry. Like, there's too many fucking people. I like that people are spread out a little bit more in Oregon. It feels nice. Get a little bit of space away from people. But, that's me trying to preserve my, like, I'm from Kansas and I don't want the place that I live to feel completely different. Hell yeah, Baphomet. Yeah. Grab some dicks or something? Is that a food place? I'm assuming it's a food place. I'm trying out the local food places, or like trying to at least, There's some places that I'm like, okay, I think that there's only one of that. Like, if I were to say it, then I would most certainly be doxing myself because I'm pretty sure there's only one of that restaurant, And I'm excited to try some various places that are like that. Dick's Sporting Goods. Dick's as in the restaurant. I assumed that you meant a restaurant. It's where my work is, though. Electricians need population density. I mean, yeah, you need population density, but like an electrician can like have consistent work in a town of like 70,000 people, you know? Dick's is a Seattle area drive-in burger joint. Ooh, that sounds yummy. We did Carl's Jr., and I know that we have Hardee's back home, but I never really ate at Hardee's. I must have when I was much younger, but so I've done Carl's Jr. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not going to be like, bro, I'm really craving Carl's Jr. in the way that I might be like, bro, I'm really craving McDonald's, you know? But it's fine. Taco time. I had to do the Zyphation. The first taco time I saw was in like New Mexico or Arizona, I think. Or like shit, maybe it was Utah, but I thought it was much further south than that. But anyway, I was like, hey, it's taco time. And then I started seeing more and more of them, and I was like, oh crap. Like this is a chain. Taco time. Dick's fries are top tier. Okay, floppy fries. Okay. Dick's is cool. It's got cheap burgers, cheap shakes. Mmm, delicious. I've heard Oregon dunes are pretty great. I think that would be in like Eastern Oregon. Which like I don't really want to go there, for being completely honest. I would really love to go to the last Blockbuster. Eventually that's going to be on the list of places that I go. I never understood why Carl's Jr. / Hardee's has a different name on opposite sides of the coast. I mean, it's clearly some kind of marketing thing. I mean, Jay, there's a similar thing where like the same cereal product is called a different name in like the UK. And maybe you might feel like culturally the United States is not that different West Coast to East Coast, but I mean, there are some distinctions. Like there are things that are different. It doesn't feel alien to be where I am now because it's like, you know, we're still fundamentally mostly still speaking English together, but and the accent isn't terribly different. But I do feel like, oh yeah, some of those kind of southernisms that I was embracing the last couple of years, like I probably should back off of a little bit if I want to be socially integrated here and not be like a southerner who moved here, you know? So like there are cultural differences. Oregon Dunes National Rec Area is coastal, actually. Oh, it's coastal. Okay, cool. You can Airbnb that Blockbuster and watch every movie. I would love to do that. I genuinely might do like a cabin in the woods weekend with my partner at Airbnb at the last Blockbuster. And like, especially if they have video games, but if they don't have video games, that's fine, but I would be a little bit sad. Oh, Baphomet elucidates, saying the reason I think that Carl's Jr. and Hardee's have a different name is that when Carl's Jr. bought out Hardee's, they did not want to lose the consumer base with the brand recognition of Hardee's, so they went ahead and just kept the name. That makes sense. Dutch Bros started in that area with the last Blockbuster. Yeah, I was, yeah, it's like, I thought it was like maybe the Eugene area that Dutch Bros Coffee like started. So that's very fun. Ugh. Taco Time is pretty decent, but they made a turn toward presenting themselves like a high-tier fast food joint, i.e. they bring your food to your table. I guess e.g. they bring your food to your table, which kind of makes them feel a little bit gentrified. Oh, Grants Pass, where Dutch Bros came from? Did you grow up in the South? Kansas is technically Northwest. Blah, blah, blah. Kansas, whatever. Shut up. Yeah, but like, people who are from Kansas, especially from rural Kansas, there is like a southernness to both the accent and the culture, right? Like it is still conservative, which is kind of what I mean. And like embracing southernisms in the sense of like, yeah, people, especially people who are rural in Kansas, do speak with some southernisms in their speech. and it's a way to socially integrate when you're queer. Like you can kind of pretend to be a little bit more rednecky than you actually are. Or I mean, lots of queer people actually are kind of rednecky in that sense of like growing up in the rural situation. I've kind of mostly been a city queer my entire life, but yeah, I mean, it like is socially salubrious because either the people who speak a little bit more proper are going to they're gonna maybe think, oh, maybe this person carries a gun, or like maybe this person is dumb, and I don't want to talk to them or whatever. Like, you can be nice and affect those southernisms, and it makes people just like more amiable toward you, and maybe a little bit tiny scared of you. Um, and it's just about whether that is like socially desirable for me if I'm gonna adopt some of those southernisms. But I can also become the type of person who speaks very correctly and talks about my interests and, has sort of this more proper way of speaking, more academic in that sense. And like, yeah, if I went to college or something or joined an office environment or an academic environment, I would speak more appropriately. And I think that that is kind of the affect, the appearance of the white intellectual might be beneficial more on the West Coast, whereas I tend to be a little bit more relaxed. I tend to speak a little bit more like deep when I'm feeling relaxed. I lived deep in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. It had a definite southern bias. Not gonna lie, happy to have moved back to Washington as an adult. See, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like like I guess when I'm saying southern, when I'm describing cultural or like language or presentation, I do I guess mean like rural. But these things have it's part of that whole like split of how it used to basically be more like even the top of the country leans progressive, the bottom of the country leans um, conservative. But then like the demographics have changed around so much, and like then it kind of became a thing where it was like East Coast, West Coast are more blue, and then the center is more red. So in that way, the southernism, like Kansas was a free state, baby. We fucked people's shit up when it came to fighting against slavery, but over the course of time, and as demographics have shifted, and as people have moved from one place to the next, we have ended up in a more of a situation where it's like, yeah, okay, the South, the southernisms, the racism, and all that has infiltrated like basically the entire center of the country. And then now, because of the way that power spreads in this bureaucratic system that we have, like the people tend like that is spreading even further now, even to places that are have high populations of Democratic voters. Like, there is still, if you look at a state like Oregon or even like California, there's a ton of surface area that is red because the population density is concentrated so much. So this is kind of also part of why I am like, my goal is to kind of remain a rural queer in a blue state. So like I moved here and I brought two other Democratic voters with me. And so our presence in a red county will help, first of all, with like, maintaining a blue state as a blue state electoral college wise, but also helps, prevent the deep entrenchment of high population progressive politics versus low population regressive politics. Yeah, hell yeah, merch. Mersh says one can be an educated redneck queer in Virginia, and it's fun sometimes. Hell yeah. Yeah, John Brown was from Kansas. Didn't Kansas have its own civil war? Kind of. Yeah, I mean, kind of. It was partially to do with, I think, our proximity to Missouri and its existence as a slave state. Like it's hard when you're like, because the major population center in Kansas, at least at that time, was so close to the state border with Missouri. Like we basically don't have very many high population places in Kansas, in like southern and western Kansas. You got Topeka, Topeka, like the state capital. It's not even in the middle of the state. It leans into that northeast corner. So yeah, like it's really difficult to have a such a not only highly politicized, but also very like something that people feel very strongly about, to have a difference like that over slavery, and there's just this like thin, invisible line between you and you're right next to each other, difficult to maintain. Do we really have a Gulf of America? I feel like I'm living in the wrong timeline. I'm trying to figure out why Google even capitulated to that. I'm trying to understand, because I get the news people to an extent doing that, right? Like, do we have this link up? Did I save this link? I meant to. Where is it? I don't remember if I saved it. Yeah, I did save it. Okay, hold up. Hold up. Apple changed their map too. Okay, so we're gonna discuss a news item that I had planned for today, and I'm gonna drink a little bit of water. So according to Politico, the Associated Press has been blocked from the Oval Office for not changing their terminology regarding the Gulf of Mexico, right? So I can understand to some degree. Now, I have serious problems with it, to be clear, but I understand conceptually if you are a news organization that desires access to the White House, making the decision to say, okay, sure, we'll call it the fucking Gulf of America if that's what makes you happy. But I do appreciate that the AP, of course, decided not to capitulate, and they have suffered the consequence of being disallowed to be in the room when Trump gives press conferences and stuff like that. So yeah, limiting our access to the Oval Office based on the content of AP's speech not only severely impedes the public's access to independent news, it plainly violates the First Amendment. So yeah, because the AP last month said that it's going to continue to refer to the Gulf of Mexico because of the centuries-long history behind that name and the fact that Mexico itself and other international organizations have not recognized the change. So yeah, I mean, and also to be clear, like, this is conquest he's attempting to do. And fitting in with the context, thank you, Baby Squid, of like, one of the Republican congressmen actually wrote up like a bill suggesting that Greenland should basically sell itself to the United States so that we could rename it Red, White, and Blue Land. Like, and when Trump says stuff about Canada joining America, like, he's not saying, like, peacefully they're going to become the 51st state. He's saying, I would like to invade our neighboring country like fucking Poland. Like, this is kind of where we're at right now. To be honest, I don't really care about the name change itself since it doesn't affect anyone. It's the knee bending that's the problem. Well, that's what the thing is. Like, the Gulf of America thing is meaningless. It is nothing except a litmus test to determine who is going to fall in line. Like, which corporations are going to scramble to obey, and doing it in a way that is suggestive of continued conquest and erasure of other countries. Like, Mexico itself, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the same map I saw earlier, but like, Mexico as a, territory, and I guess it's like the Spanish territory, right? Or I guess the name Mexico predates Spanish colonization. But anyway, like, the entire territory spans around the Gulf. Like, the reason why it's the Gulf of Mexico is because historically the entire territory, like, every single bit of land that touches the shore of that Gulf was Mexican. It was Mexico. What's up, Firestar? I wish that other news agencies would boycott the White House because of what happened to the AP. I mean, is it reasonable to ask for a boycott of the White House during a time when we desperately need news coverage of what is happening? Like, I feel like this is a terrible time to just go, oh, well, we are not going to go to the press conference. Like, I guess someone is going to still be there and there's going to be video, but like the inability to ask questions, the inability to push back, the inability to elucidate any statements that the president makes, like, you are also losing important access that is, to help the American people by providing this information. So, I mean, yeah, it's like, it's that whole concept. Like, I've thought about this for years. What if we just stop talking about J.K. Rowling? What if we just ignore everything she says? What if we just don't talk about her at all? I think I'm off-center by quite a lot. Or by off-center, I mean not off-center enough, because I need to be slightly off-center. But yeah, like, imagine... the news aren't really questioning Trump, no pushback at all. Well, because that's the thing too. Yeah, like there is, they have to be careful in how they push back because dude's a dictator now. Actually, it's not even Trump really. I didn't watch the press conference with Elon Musk, but people were saying, yeah, like Elon was fielding the questions and Trump was just sitting there. Meanwhile, Elon had his kid and the kid was being disruptive and like wiped a booger on the state presidential desk. But yeah, I mean, I've had this thought before of, can we just take the wind out of this by like not acknowledging it? By, J.K. Rowling, can we not just like pretend she hasn't said anything of interest? Like, pretend she doesn't exist. Pretend, just like mute her, just block her on Twitter and suck all the air out of it. But we're a minority doing that, first of all. It doesn't stop her from actually saying anything. It doesn't stop her from being influential with the politicians in her country. It doesn't stop her from inflaming public opinion against trans people. It would have to be unilateral. We would have to unilaterally be like, we're not giving any air to this anymore. But you can't just individually decide not to give air to something. And so I understand the difficult position that news organizations are in, where they're like, yes, I need to ask some questions. Yes, I need to clarify this, but I can't like lose access to this news. Like, someone has to tell people what's happening in here and be on there to report when, someone else got kicked out of the newsroom because of a question that they asked. Like, okay, I do think that there is value in documenting this, because I don't know how we can't just like take away their power by not looking at it. It's not like questions asked of Trump and his ilk actually provide meaningful dialogue. Yeah, well, but I mean, I do think there is value, though, in like asking them a question and documenting the way in which they avoid the question or how they choose to answer the question. Mersh says, we have President Musk. The military-industrial complex has definitely taken over the USA, and Eisenhower was right in his warning. I don't know what specific Eisenhower quote you're referring to, but I believe you. He's talking about gutting NPR and PBS. NPR and PBS, which cumulatively represent, like, probably together less than 0.5% of the total budget. Dude, it's the craziest thing. Like, I was just thinking about this earlier today with all this, like, alleged government spending that they want to cut back on. Well, they've now declared that they would like to reduce SNAP by 20%. Like, okay, so what 20% of people are you going to decide don't deserve food because they're using this program in order to afford food? But additionally, they said, I was reading something that was like, they're proposing to cut $880 billion from Medicaid, which is the entire budget of Medicaid. And it's like, where the fuck is this money going to go? Like, are you all genuinely just going to pocket it? Like what is a government for if not to spend money? Like is the goal to I mean, like fucking giant corporations already functionally don't pay taxes. So like what is the goal? Are we trying to reduce taxes by reducing government spending, or are you just going to take all the money that the government presently has and put it in your pocket? Cuz like the budget you like the budget is already allocated. That's why this is an illegal action, because according to our nation's laws, Congress decides the budget. Congress allocates the funds, and the executive branch does not have the power to decide to override Congress's budgetary discretion. So, yeah, I guess the goal is for Musk to loot the treasury. It's kind of seeming like, yeah, like what? Okay, you're trying to cut all this spending. You're trying to cut all this spending. Like, are they basically just going to come in, steal all the money from the government, and then let it crash and burn? Like, it kind of seems like that's like, I don't even know if their goal is to strictly be authoritarians and to actually run the government. It kind of seems more like they're just accelerating the collapse of the US empire. It's like hard to tell what the goal is, because what the fuck are they doing? Fucking true, Ben Jules Run. Oh my god, that's true too. Ben says, can someone tell Elon how bloated and inefficient the military and police are? Yeah. I guess that's kind of a question to look at, is like, if they're planning on just gutting the government and letting it all collapse, then they would gut the military budget as well, wouldn't they? So I guess if they don't gut the military and the police, then the explicit intention probably is to use them to rule authoritarianly. I don't know. At this point, I don't think appeals to the law even matter or will have any effect. Oh, no. And to be clear, I don't believe that anything that I do will have any effect or matter at all. That's literally, I'm just like, I want to go live my anarchist lifestyle far away from all of this bullshit. I'm living on the opposite coast and hoping that there's not going to be a land invasion of California, Oregon, and Washington, you know? Oh man, I am in so much pain. Fiona says, accelerating a recession to take advantage of it and make more money in the long run. Yeah. Take the money and run. Drea says, concerning the military, I am going to assume that eventually we will be cutting our U.S. military out in favor of corporate-owned military. Yeah, like we're switching to a privatized military. So screw everyone else. Jay, baby, my love, my dear, I am doing what I have control over, which is I'm going to try to help all the people in my immediate area. I guess maybe you haven't been here the last, like, the earlier this stream and also last stream when I talked at length about wanting to participate in helping the homeless people in my area. Like, I just moved to somewhere where I can actually kind of help make things halfway decent here. And then beyond that, like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Am I gonna, you know, follow through on the attempt that was made recently on Trump? Like, no. Am I gonna go take out Musk at the knees? No. Am I gonna personally go, you know, affect any of the Supreme Court justices or any of the CEOs of any of these oil companies? You know, am I gonna join fucking Greenpeace or something? Like, you know, I'm just like I just have like recognized that I'm not going to have any impact on things on like a federal or international level. So I have chosen to become part of a pipeline of safety and long-term survival of the climate change disaster. It's like, that's kind of like, I just have recognized that I am only one person and I can only do so much. Private security, private military. It does seem like that's their goal. Miles says that the U.S. Army just said it's not, quote, going to take adverse personnel actions against people based on gender identity, and that they are going to continue giving medical dysphoria treatment. Really? That's pretty significant. I want to see if I can find something about that. Hold on. Time for you to run for local government, Lux. I genuinely did reflect on that this week. I don't know if that's going to happen, but it is like something that I'm at least mindful of being a possibility. I want to be a community leader unofficially. Can I be like a community member who often takes leadership positions but like never officially has any position? That's what I want. Military says no to trans discrimination. I don't fucking know. Two days ago from NBC says Pentagon will ban trans people from joining military. There's a split between the military traditionalists and the fascista. That's kind of what I assumed would happen. Although, Josie Caballero, my co-host on the line on the Transatlantic Call-In Show, she said that military recruitment went up dramatically in January this year. Like that there has been for the last several years a lack of recruitment that has been alarming to the military, and that they are no longer in that those numbers of like we're not getting enough people, and so there is some concern that these are white supremacists who are joining the military with the explicit purpose of becoming a Trump foot soldier, basically, and you know the likelihood of these men being like fast tracked through training and like, yeah, then, you know, boots on the ground. And yeah, it's definitely like of concern. Yeah, Lux is going to be the shadow power behind the government. That's me. Noah says Idaho, Montana, and East Washington and Oregon are swarming with Nazis. That could be a problem in the near future. Yes, I have heard that. This is why I just want to like, I want to get to know gun people and also like farmer people and, you know, try to become a valued member of a community so that even if crazy shit happens, then I'll have like liberal and centrist neighbors who are like, excuse me, I don't want anything bad to happen to my friendly best friend Moss. It's the U.S. Army specifically. Oh man, I don't know how long this show is going to be today because I am in pain. 77 concurrent viewers. Can we get to 69 likes really quick? That seems like it would be entirely possible. I'm just on my period and bitching about everything going on. So enjoy hanging out while we can. I promise I'm gonna put something up in the background. I ordered some floating shelves off of Amazon. I thought they were gonna arrive today, and I don't think they are, but before Sunday, I will have something on the wall. I know. Ooh, I have my throne wish list. I usually don't really mention it, but if you guys want to buy me a gift instead of just donating money directly, for example, someone bought me this off of my wish list. It's a succulent pillow. Isn't it cute? It's so freaking cute. It doesn't really fit the aesthetic of the moss thing because this is a very dry, dry weather arid plant, but I still think it's so cute and it's really soft and it's comfy and cute. Yay. Now that's over there. Oh god. Katie says, if there is an invasion in the Pacific Northwest, which would be a bad choice, they will probably land at Baja and cross the southern arc of California to try and knock out our largest naval port, as well as Camp Pendleton to cut our flow of Marines in half. From a military perspective, that's a much better option. Of course, you could land in the PNW and form a beachhead because of the lack of resistance, and we can't bomb our own people. God, yeah. the issue isn't recruitment levels, it's total number. We've had plenty of grunts signing up. Most rates requiring above an 80 on your ASVAB are way below the recommended numbers. Numbers have dropped further since Trump showed up. I wonder why the smart people don't want to join. Yeah, and I mean, part of the problem with, targeting transgender service members is that, first of all, there are like thousands and thousands of transgender service members, but also the kind of trans people, I think that the US military is like the single largest employer of trans people in the country as like a single organization. Like there are more trans people working for the military than there are any other individual industry, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe just like any individual company or organization or whatever. And like tons of those people, because they are career, like because they've been working for the military for a long time, they are highly skilled laborers. Like they are doctors, they are engineers, like they are in leadership positions and shit like that. So like if we get rid of all present transgender service members, God, that would be a huge problem for our military's like strength and cohesion and capability, and it would just fucking suck. How often do you have to water that succulent? Oh, I just give it, it's just like ambient in the air, like an air plant. Yeah, Mersh adds that it would hurt some of the most advanced research and tech that the US has. Mersh also points out that new recruits are good cannon fodder, and that fascists have a bad track record of having a lot of casualties in their wars. They'll send them to Gaza in order to maintain control of their, quote, new territory. Yeah, I guess. It's like crazy. Like in the middle of a situation where we still have at least 1,000 Americans a week dying from COVID, or like, I say at least, somewhere between 500 and 1,500 Americans dying per week of COVID, and also increased all mortality, like all cause mortality, that we would then send our, able-bodied military age individuals to go occupy the Palestinian territory is like crazy. I predict a remilitarization of the Coast Guard, Oregon only base. That's why he fired the woman admiral. Shit, maybe. And that's another point too, John. John says, how many of Trump's aides and cabinet were fired in the first year of his first presidency? The only thing worse than being Trump's enemy is being his friend. Right. And that's something that I've been kind of leaning on, that, he is... I mean, he is so quick to fire people. It's like hard to get anything done when you don't have a cohesive staff, you know? Like if you fire a bunch of career employees and you bring in a bunch of people, like, okay, those people are not going to know how to navigate the computer systems. Those people are not going to, like, you know how you on your own computer, or like in any organization that you have, you'll end up, like on my computer, I'll like save something to a folder within another folder just because I'm trying to like quickly put something in a place. And then 10 years later, you like, that is now a critical part of your organization process. But like if you come in, if somebody else came in and like was trying to find the pictures of your family that you keep on your computer, or is trying to find your porn folder or your tax documents, it's not going to be like you're going to easily find tax documents in the documents folder. Like, no, it's going to be in some subfolder of the pictures folder, because things just kind of happen that way. Imagine eliminating almost all career employees of the government and then like trying to run the government with a bunch of people who are not familiar with those systems. The military is recruiting anti-wokeness right now, so it is an SS replacement for a formerly diverse crew. Maybe, maybe. Mersch says Nazi Germany also hurt itself by getting rid of Jewish scientists. The US is doing the same thing by purging the government and academia of, quote, woke and LGBTQIA+. History is repeating itself. Yeah, imagine failing an open note test like this. Germany did not have a smoothly functioning government. Neither the fuck do we. John confirms, I never use the documents folder. I have my own folders within folders within folders, and it can sometimes go 5 folders deep. Yep. Like, good luck trying to organize any of my shit after I die. I'm going to scream. Oh my god, you guys. Ouch, 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 ouch. I have like a hot pad. I'm like a hot pad like tucked into my sweatpants right now. It's on the lowest setting though, so that I don't have to like take it off. I'm like, just give me, maybe I do need a little bit more. Maybe I need a little bit more juice, and then I'll turn it back down later. Just gonna click this onto medium. There we go. I tried a meal last night, you guys. I know, I'm sorry. I have ADHD, and if you're gonna hang out here, it's gonna swing wildly between like food and like my hobbies and Trump. Sorry, if you're not used to this. Last night I tried something that I had seen. I don't even remember why I originally saw it. I watch a lot of different food shows, but it was like, ooh, here's a 3-ingredient chocolate mousse, like a high-protein, healthy chocolate mousse. You take soft tofu, like silky soft tofu, and then you take dark chocolate. This particular recipe used dark chocolate and then maple syrup to sweeten it, but I believe that was because she was explicitly like making it a vegan recipe. And I did make it that way last night. So I did silky tofu, the dark chocolate, you like melt it in the microwave, and then like then it's a liquid, and you can mix it and you can put it in the blender, and then you sweeten it to taste with the maple syrup. So I think next time I'll do like 1 bar of milk chocolate and 1 bar of dark chocolate, and maybe that will kind of take the flavor in a better direction, because the flavor was like not exactly what I wanted. And I also think that it would really benefit from some kind of texture, or maybe I was just taking too big of bites, because I was like, it was my primary protein. I made that tofu mousse, and then my side was quinoa with onion and garlic, and then I also throw some garden peas in the quinoa. So it's like a vegan meal. It ended up being. It's the first time I've ever cooked a vegan meal, and it was completely unintentional. But like, because the tofu, I was thinking of it as my main protein, I was like eating it in these really big bites, and I think that mousse is meant to be enjoyed in really small bites. But if I was going to do it the same and eat like big bites, I would probably want to put some like maybe mini semi-sweet chocolate chips in it to give it a little bit of texture. I'm not really sure what the answer is, but it was pretty cool. And it was delicious. We always end up talking about food. Now I'm hungry. It's one of my hobbies. I'm sorry. And like, it's the thing that I do on a regular basis too. That's the other thing about cooking, is like, I always have new material to talk about because I cook like 5 nights a week. Typically my sibling cooks on Sunday, and like, Wednesday is kind of a free-for-all night. But like, I basically cook 5 nights a week. And so there's always something new. I don't think you're sorry at all. No, I'm not sorry. Did I say I was sorry? Because I'm not. But yeah, it was, there's just always something new. Now, when it gets warmer, I will have more other stuff to tell you about. I will tell you about the hiking trails that I go on, but like, yeah, let me just give you a short. Let me try to come up with here's a list, okay, of my hobbies. It's like cooking, I do regularly. Crochet, I am trying to get back into doing it. Do you have a decent chef's knife? Kind of, not really. Like, I mean, I do. It just really needs to be sharpened. It needs to be like, it needs to have a fully new edge put on it. And then, yeah, I guess technically I do have a nice chef's knife. I also have a nice cleaver that I want to refurbish and get into uh, into functionality. Also, can we see your chef's knife grip? No, I'm on my period right now. I'm in so much pain. I'm not gonna handle a knife right now. um. But yeah, I mean, cooking is like it's on the short list of hobbies that I actually do all the time. Check out the Asian markets around Portland region. So I did go to an Asian market, and then I went back to that same Asian market, and it was fucking awesome. I went there the first time, and I was like, dude, I'm so excited to take my partner here. We kind of sort of went on a date to the Asian market this week. But yeah, they have like 10-pound bags of rice. They have aloe leaves. They have salted duck eggs. They have quail eggs. They have like all kinds of good shit at the Asian market. There's so many different kinds of soy sauce. Asian market is good shit. I do think that it's worth pointing out, like someone said in the chat, that that the fact that the approval rating is so low is like reassuring, but I think that it is also, it like fits into that historical narrative of like the Nazi Party didn't actually have popular support. They claimed power. Surprising to see the Democratic Party doing jack shit about any of this. I was reading something earlier. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, this is from Axios. And I don't really know a lot about Axios, so I can't say, like, what kind of organization they are. But basically, according to the Axios headline here, Scoop, Dems are, quote, pissed at liberal groups such as Move On and Indivisible. This here says, a closed-door meeting for House Democrats this week included a gripe fest directed at liberal grassroots organizations, sources tell Axios. So let's see. We had House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries in the room, and members of the Steering and Policy Committee. This is the committee that we're talking about. On Monday, they complained that activist groups like Move On and Indivisible have facilitated thousands of phone calls to the members' offices. A senior House Democrat who was at the meeting said, speaking about the lawmakers' reaction to these calls, said, quote, people are pissed. The Democrat said that Jeffries himself is, quote, very frustrated at the groups who are trying to stir up a more confrontational opposition to Trump. A Jeffries spokesperson disputed that characterization and noted to Axios that their office regularly engages with dozens of stakeholder groups, including Move On and Indivisible. But basically, like, a House Democrat, speaking anonymously, who was at this Steering and Policy Committee, is saying, like, oh, these Democrats are pissed that people are demanding that they have a more strong reaction to the Republican takeover. One member says, there were a lot of people who were like, we've got to stop the groups from doing this. People are concerned that they're saying we're not doing enough, but we're not in the majority. So it's like, oh yeah, so the citizens are concerned because the Democrats are not strongly enough responding to this situation, and then going like, we're not in the majority. We can't do anything. Some Democrats see these callers as barking up the wrong tree, given that they have limited power as the minority party in Congress, saying, quote, or Rep. Don Bayer says, it's been a constant theme of us saying, please call the Republicans. Calling people to beg for our lives is not fucking working, Don. Not working, Don. They want us to die, Don. Richie Torres says, I reject and resent the implication that congressional Democrats are simply standing by passively. I mean, I think what people want, like what would be really great, like politicians, I mean, I guess, again, it's that situation where it's like they will be arrested and then politically persecuted if they do literally anything too disruptive, I guess, is the fear, right? Like, that if you bring all of the Democrats together, or at least most of them, and you like stand on the podium and you kick the microphones over and stuff, and you go like, yeah, we are occupying Congress until these actions are forcibly stopped. Like, it is illegal for them to be ransacking the Treasury offices. So we are going to fuck shit up in the Congress chamber until these people are arrested. You know, like, that's the kind of action we want to see, I think. That's the kind of action I would like to see. That's fucking true, baby squid. Yeah, because part of the problem is that they also spun this same, oh, we can't do anything, and they had the majority. Like, just no respect for these people. Oh, I think I was going to check earlier, like, am I actually going to get my... Amazon order today? I don't know. They're Congress people. It's fine. They won't get shot or anything. But they could still be held indefinitely in jail and, like, being politically persecuted as opposition members. Hakeem Jeffries is worse than useless. Yeah, that's the impression that I got from what I read. I mean, it says that all my shit's arriving today. Sometimes it do be lying. Yeah, I love it when it says, like, something's, it says, like, on the original screen, like, oh yeah, this should be arriving by 10 p.m. today, and then you click into the order, and it actually says that it hasn't even shipped yet. Excuse me. The problem is that Democrats since the early 2000s aren't ideologically cohesive. The problem is that the Democratic Party is ideologically cohesive, and they are deliberately not helping people. Why am I now having an issue where because of the cord placement it won't turn further? Okay, cool. So I guess we're stuck. We're stuck in that position. I kind of hate this thing. Like, why are you like that? I don't know. Like, I changed it to where it's on a completely different stand so that it won't accidentally get knocked around because it's just resting on top of my microphone, and it still like has this like little bit of play where it can move. I'm like, kill me, please, kill me, kill me, kill me, kill me. Jesus Christ. All right. It's not deliberately, it's a mindset problem. Like, okay, have you ever heard the phrase, the purpose of a system is its outcomes? You know? Like, the idea that, you know, if you observe a system for a long enough period of time and you notice that it keeps doing something specific, you know, like it keeps resulting in mass death or something along those lines, it, like, at a certain point you just have to go, that's the explicit purpose of this machine. Like, the machine is labeled pizza maker, but it consistently makes piles of shit. Like, okay, well, the purpose of the machine is to make piles of shit. It might have an incorrect label on it that says pizza maker, but that does not make it a pizza maker, you know? So that's kind of like how my position has shifted a bit, looking at the actions that Democrats take is like, they lose consistently, right? But it's not like they lose, like, it's like they do obvious things, you know? They do obvious things. Like, they were doing really well when they were like, wow, these Republicans are so weird. Let's position ourselves as socially normal and condemn the Republicans as being like out of touch and weird people who you don't want, like, who you can't socially relate to. And then they explicitly dropped that. They were like, stop saying this. And then they fucking started performing worse. right? So it's like, how many times can you watch this same thing happen before you go like, okay, it seems like you're losing on purpose? AKA, it's the feature, not the bug. Yeah, or the bug is the feature. Remember, Peacheek says, remember a few days ago the Senate Dems pretended to protest in front of the Treasury building and haven't done shit since. I mean, at least they haven't done shit that's newsworthy since. Democrats need to do something to get themselves in the news. We just need coverage of Democrats doing literally anything to bolster like the esteem and morale of people in the country. My conclusion is that the systems we have go toward fascism no matter what. Yeah, this is why I'm opposed to neoliberal societies establishment, like the structure of a neoliberal society, you know, that like I have to like, I'll pass by somewhere that I've already passed by in the past week and go like, oh, there used to be a bunch of tents there and like people living there, and now they're not. I guess the police came through and stole all of their shit and threw it in the trash and destroyed people's medicine. You know, like that's what neoliberalism is. Neoliberalism takes the homeless person and dumps all their shit in the garbage and then tells the homeless person to find somewhere else to be, or you'll arrest them. Yeah, the Democrats really are bad at selling any of their wins. I think AOC is the future of the Democratic Party, if there even is one. Yeah, I'm like, well, like I don't know. In a good world, in a just world, if we had politicians, that's who they would be. It would be, you know, a doctor joins the committee for a couple years, and then we have bartenders and we have school teachers and we have fucking flower growers and stuff. Like, we need a whole bunch of different kinds of people representing all kinds of different interests, because the way that it works now sucks. Like, we are ruled by lawyers. All of them are lawyers. Man, I am in pain. I'm having a bad time, you guys. We're at 74 likes, though. Hey, I completely missed when we went to 69 likes. Thank you. That's good stuff. I love you very much. I'm gonna die. Okay. It's a consultant problem, not losing on purpose. They ideologically believe hardcore in institutionalism and bipartisanship. They are stuck in September 1993. Would you say, and I don't mean this to be confrontational, but like, would you say that the fact that so many Democrats are turning on trans people means, and like, given that the rule of law has generally been on the side of, and that the Democrats themselves have been on the side of, the law says people can do what they want to their bodies medically. Like, do you view the Democrat swing against trans acceptance as being like representative of an ideology that is rooted in institutionalism? I mean, because it seems like, you know, the Kamala Harris approach to the trans question is, let's follow the law, and the law says trans people are equal under sex protections. Like, there have been numerous interpretations in the courts that have indicated that trans discrimination is sex discrimination broadly. So like, yeah, to say like the types of things that the Democratic Party is doing is because they believe so much in institutionalism, like, they don't, though. Like, they don't, or they would use those mechanisms to accomplish things. Like, when they are in control of the institution, they would be using the institution's mechanisms to accomplish the explicitly stated goals of their platforms, but they don't. Even when they win, they don't do what they promised. Even when they have the majority, they don't do what they promised. So, like, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, it just seems to me like what is actually happening is that Democrats are fully in the pocket of corporate donors. And so what they do is they say a lot of things about being pro people when they're campaigning, but in order to maintain their relationships with their corporate donors, which is how they make their money, they can't actually follow through on any of those promises. So I think that Democrats actively lie to the people about what their goals are. And then when they get in office, they do things that result in more profit for the people who support them financially, and they don't help people, or they lose on purpose so that then they don't even have to pretend like, oh, well, we can't raise the minimum wage because of this Senate parliamentarian who we could very easily fire and get a new one of. You know, it's like they lose on purpose because they are ideologically the same as Republicans in that they are just trying to make money. And like the Republicans just take that ideology to the extreme. It's controlled opposition. Fucking true, Peacheek. Yeah, if you could ever give the Republicans credit for anything, they put the effort to do the things they say they're going to do. They're like, yeah, I'm going to do evil stuff. Kitty says, I feel like the biggest problem is that independents don't get to vote in primaries in most states, which has firmly stopped third party growth and potential because you don't have many registered third party due to wanting a say in the candidates in the primary. I feel like that is a place to start trying to take actions that will empower third parties. We would need coalitions in the government versus this two-way back and forth. Many Republicans and Democrats don't even want to be in their respective parties anymore. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, that is the reason why I registered as a Democrat originally. I think when I get my new driver's license, I'm going to register as an independent to make it easier for me to speak to politicians and also to make it so like I'm not going to be politically targeted as someone who's registered as a Democrat, you know? For the same reason that I'm going to register my sex as female because I want to hide from the government, you know? Like, I was really looking forward to getting an X on my driver's license, but now I'm not going to do that. Like, it's bad enough that I changed it to male in the first place. Like, changing it back to female is just like, I just have to hope that if I'm ever disappeared, that they will accept a narrative that I detransitioned. You know, like, oh man. But yeah, I guess like it like that is an interesting concept I hadn't really considered before. Like allowing independents to vote in the primaries could result in, I mean, honestly, like what it would result in is a fundamental change of both parties, I think. Like, then someone who considers themselves a libertarian and registered as an independent can then vote on who the Republican candidate is in the primaries. So, you know, I thought briefly about getting an X on my license, but I got pulled over the other week and got left off with a warning. And I'm going, yeah, that wouldn't have happened if my license said X. Yeah, literally, that's it. I'm like, the only time someone's gonna need to see my ID, well, honestly, like, I mean, it's basically like at the liquor store, at the dispensary, at the lottery, and at a police interaction. Like, these are the only times someone's gonna see my ID, and I don't want a cop being like, interesting, your ID says X. If my ID says female, then okay, at least that's in line with the way that most people perceive me out in public, and I can change my voice so that I pass as female. And like, okay, great. Obviously, it's not like how I want to live all of my life, but for those individual moments, like sure, if it makes it easier, then yeah, I'm gonna do what makes it easier. In Oregon, registering as independent gets you registered into the independent party specifically. I thought it was weird when I discovered that because we have like 10 different parties here. What are the parties? Like, what? Hold on. Oh my God. Okay. So in Oregon, you have the major parties of Democrat and Republican, obviously. And then there are 8 minor parties. The Constitution Party, I have such a hard time saying that word. Constitution Party, Independent Party, Libertarian Party, No Labels Party, Pacific Green Party, Progressive Party, We the People, and Working Families Party. How do I fucking... Do I have to register as a party? Can I just be like no party? Or can I just... Is that what the No Labels Party is for? How do I join a party where people will not persecute me politically? What's the independent party about? Because basically, I think that in Kansas, if you register as independent, it basically just says you are not affiliated with a political party. And then you get mail from both political parties. That's what happened when my partner registered as independent. The neutral party, yeah. Can I get a like is it Switzerland? Can I get a Swiss party? I'm registered as an anarchist. Good fucking luck. I agree about ranked choice voting. Yeah, ranked choice voting would be good. So to answer your question, Firestar Awesome, who asks like when we're talking about the Democratic Party throwing trans people under the bus, who specifically is saying that? Article from NBC back in November. Representative Tom Sozzi from New York says to the New York Times that the Democrats have to stop pandering to the far left. I don't want to discriminate against anybody, but I don't think biological boys should be playing in girls' sports. So that's a Democrat capitulating to the right wing. Representative Seth Moulton from Massachusetts told the Times Democrats spend way too much time trying not to offend anyone rather than being brutally honest about the challenges many Americans face. I have 2 little girls and I don't want them getting run over on a playing field by a male or formerly male athlete, but as a Democrat, I'm supposed to be afraid to say that. These are like your represented officials in fucking New York. Like, also, Democratic Party Chair Gilberto Hinojosa said, oh, no, you can support transgender rights up and down all the categories where the issue comes up. Oh, wait, hold on, wait. Oh, yeah, you have to just understand that certain things that we just go too far on that a big bulk of our population does not support. So, like, you know, that's like 3 Democrats. Oregon voted down ranked choice voting. God damn it. Put it back on the ballot. I'll vote for it. I'm here. I'm ready to vote for things. Ranked choice is such a good idea. Anyway. Let's see. So yeah, and I mean that was months ago. That's like at least 3 Democratic politicians saying like, yeah, we're gonna kick trans people out. I registered as independent to not be in a party, but apparently you can't do that here. Not sure. Yeah, I will ask when I go to register. I'll be like, can I, like, is there such a thing as not registering as a party in any particular party? And, you know, I guess I didn't really think about that until just now. I didn't realize that there were going to be more than one party. Like, I guess either the independent party or the no labels party, like one of those two would probably be good. Not excusing any of it, but don't you think there hasn't been a good narrative for the trans sports issues? Can you elucidate what you mean by a good narrative? Like, you know, like the fact that Leah Thomas in the same day against the same women won one race and lost two other races. Like, I don't really know what to do with the whole narrative of trans sports issues. Like, there is absolutely no evidence of trans women dominating the sports. Like, this is the definition of a completely manufactured controversy. Like, what narrative around trans sports issues? Like, the fact that they play and fucking lose most of the time is, or the fact that, like, there's 400, according to John, says there's 400,000 college athletes in the United States, and of those, there are 20 trans athletes. Like, what narrative do we need to have except that, like, trans women... So first of all, and this is shitty of me, I'm pointing out that trans women don't even win that often, and that's me saying, like, and therefore that's against the idea that they're going to dominate those sports. But it also says that, like, trans people are only allowed to participate if they don't win, you know? The average person doesn't like it, and now Democrat politicians are hearing from their constituents, quote, we don't like this stuff. But my problem with it is Democrats, instead of going, this is a very small percentage of people and we don't need to, like, make a big deal out of this, like, they could say, like, listen, trans people are not harming anybody. They've been participating in the sports this whole time, so let's not focus on that. Let's stand against that because it's needless, and let's focus on other things. Like, they're saying, let's agree to say fucked up shit about trans people in spite of the complete... Like, I actually don't even agree, Firestar, that there is, like, a majority of people don't support trans people in sports thing, or, like, that even the average person... Sorry, I said majority. That was an incorrect framing of what you said, but, like, the idea that the average person doesn't like it, I don't actually think that we have that. I don't think the average person cares. The average person is more focused on how shitty the potholes are in their neighborhood, and, like, whether they can afford eggs. What's the narrative to support trans people? I mean, the narrative to support trans people, like, from the libertarian perspective, is, like, let people do what the fuck they want to do. You know? And, like, you're saying, what's the narrative to support trans people, Firestar? That's the Democrats' job. Their job is to create a narrative against what the Republicans are doing, and they just are choosing not to. Like, okay, you're asking what's the narrative to support trans people? I criticized Kamala Harris for this 5 months ago. All you have to say is the exact fucking words that you would say when you're supporting abortion, and just substitute in, like, gender identity for when you're talking about what the medical condition is, you know? Like, you genuinely, like, when people were asking her, you know, there was that one interview where people were like, that one lady was like, hey, your opposition has spent all this money on anti-trans whatever, and, like, Kamala Harris just basically said, like, let's follow the law. If the law says let's treat these people, then let's treat these people. But that leaves the idea open that we could change the law and make it illegal. What she should have said is, trans people have a medical decision to make with their doctors, and the government should not be part of that. Just use the same script. This is part of why I'm so frustrated. Is, like, literally, you don't even have to come up with something new. You can stay in line with your rhetoric that is working. People are really upset that they don't have the right to abortion anymore. Oh, man. Yeah, true, Drea. States have passed anti-trans athlete bills with zero trans athletes even in the state. Yeah, the sausage party. Fesh says that Washington state primaries do not require registration to participate in them. Excuse me. Excuse me. The whole transports issue is a losing battle. People are simply going to narrate that they have an unfair advantage regardless of any proof available. The misinformation has permeated so much that it's become the default understanding. But like the problem is like this is the issue of like this is why it bothers me so much that I care so much about like proof and stuff is like you should have to prove to a high level of evidence that it's a good idea to pass a law before you pass the law. Like Democrats don't even have to necessarily say we support trans people in sports, but they have to say like we do not have enough evidence that discriminating against an entire class of people is a good thing to do in the law. Like that's what they need to do. They need to hold on to that idea of like you can't broad discriminate against an entire class of people with absolutely no proof or evidence of any kind, you know? And to point out that this is a useless distraction. And for one fucking Democrat in their entire life, I guess AOC maybe has done it, but like to point out that this is a scapegoat situation where they are going to just use us as a justification for like, well, we couldn't pass this law in Congress, so we have to take executive action against this emergency situation. Like we're just the group that's being used to justify like taking, I don't know, man, I had another one of those, like my brain got lost in the middle of my statement. Yeah, please don't violate decorum. Don't get censored. This is why I cannot be a politician. I mean, if you're asking me for narratives because you want to try to have this discussion with people, then like, I mean, like the Olympics, at the Olympic level, trans women have been able to participate for years, but they are not like out competing cisgender women. Like the kind of people who get policed, in fact, the kind of people who get policed by all these testosterone rules are black women, black cisgender women like Castor Semenya, who are like not allowed to participate with men anymore because black women on average have higher testosterone. You know, like it's so weird for black women in particular to have this attitude because like black women get degendered immediately. Like black people are subject to, like black women are subject to having their womanhood questioned and stripped from them, and like have you know them, they're being accused of being like super masculine and stuff. Like that should be enough for black people to say, yo, this gender shit is bullshit. It's white supremacist fundamentally. No worries, Firestar. Uh Oh man, this is so true, Kitty, and I wish that more people would talk about this. One of the big things about trans women in sports is that once you start estrogen, you lose around 30% of your muscle mass, but you still have, on average, a 15 to 20% heavier skeleton. Cis women... Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, I mean, that's kind of like the end of the point, like, I guess, is like... So if it's like, okay, well, I have less muscle mass now than I did before, but my skeleton weighs the same, so I still have to move around the same amount of weight, but I have less muscle. Iman Khalif is the prime example. It was racist, sexist, transphobic, and factually incorrect. Right? Yeah. Black women aren't trans. That's the difference. But the thing is that like we're setting the standard of what is a woman based on what a white woman is. So like it seems to me like black women should be sympathetic to the idea that like, oh, you know, you look too muscular to be a real woman. Like you you are not allowed to run with the women because you're not a real woman, because our idea of what a real woman is based off of what a cis white woman is. But I guess like in that like way that oppressed people are always trying to find a way out, maybe black women are like, well, I'm being alienated from womanhood because I'm not white, but at least I'm not trans. Like maybe they have that like conditional acceptance thing going on. Oh, is this a Zoe Zephyr? We're gonna relive a Zoe Zephyr moment. Oh God, what is this? Should we watch this? I'm. This is Oscars shortlisted. I'm not gonna be able to watch this. They're gonna. They're gonna get me. They won't let me do it. Like, can I watch this? It's uploaded by the New Yorker. I don't think I'm gonna be able to watch this without YouTube. Without YouTube getting mad at me. IDK, what the title is referring to, but I agree. Yeah. Jesus Christ, you know, it's just everything. It's just everything. It's my fucking internet. It's my period cramps. It's fucking all the politics shit. Yeah. We did have a couple other things I was thinking about responding to today. Oh, here's just a funny thing that I wanted to share with you. So back home, in Kansas, we have a couple of different license plate options, but like they're definitely not that many. And I just wanted to share with you some of the cool ones that there are in Oregon. Like there's like 20 plus different license plates that people can have. So and like all of them are kind of cute. Hold on, are none of these pictures very big? Are all of these pictures super small? Can I make them bigger? Oh, I can make them bigger. Okay, nice. Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, that's great. Okay, that's as big as it'll go. Got it. So you know, standard. You start with like a standard plate. This is the one that you see the most often, probably. It's got the tree on there. You got the tree. You got some like gesture at a mountain in the background, and some like smaller mountainy hills with trees on them. And like, yeah, that is what Oregon looks like. TLDR. Bigger mountains in the distance, smaller mountains closer. Conifers everywhere. Okay. And then there's like, okay, this is a veteran plate. Cool, pretty plain. Oregon professional firefighters. So it looks pretty normal, except that like it has slightly different colors or something. And then it has Oregon professional firefighters on it. Paralyzed Veterans of America. Okay, still pretty samey. All right, you know, we've got some variation. Okay, share the road. Okay, so we're starting to get into some nice, like we're making statements. You know, this is you know, we're saying there's a ton of bike lanes here. Like that's something I've noticed is I haven't necessarily noticed a ton of people riding their bikes. Maybe it's just like the time of day that I'm out or the whatever, the particular roads that I'm on or something. But yeah, but you know, it's clearly a place that hasn't they attempt to have a culture around bike riding, right? So yeah, you know, it's good. Let's raise awareness. Vietnam Veterans of America. Okay, very specific. Not just veterans, but Vietnam veterans. Neat. Okay, now we're getting into some of the cool ones. All right, Crater Lake is in, I think, like southeast Oregon. Crater Lake. That's pretty, you know? More than I would have expected there to be on a license plate. It's kind of fun. Wine Country. Also, I've noticed that, like, I don't know what CB is for. I would have expected CL for Crater Lake. CB, I don't know what that's for. maybe it's like have to do with like one of the cities nearby or something. Wine Country has WC on it. Oregon, wine country, because there is a ton. There are so many orchards, so many different. I went to a place and was like, "Hey, can I get some wine?" And she was like, "What kind of wine do you want?" And I was like, I wasn't prepared to have a whole 10-minute conversation about wine today. Uh, but like, so we got, yeah, she spent like 10 minutes being like, well, this wine has some of the characteristics you asked for. And so does this one. And so does this one. And so does this one. And they were all local wines. All local wines. But yeah, so wine country. It's cool. Salmon. SM for salmon. Because like salmon are pretty, important to the river systems anywhere. Yes, lots of vineyards. Oh, vineyard is distinct from orchard. Yeah. Sorry. I'm stream brain is kicking in. But yeah, so the salmons, they're cute. Honoring their sacrifice. This one has to do with fallen public safety officers, specifically. And then I think that the idea is when you have all these custom ones, I think that the idea is that you spend a little bit more money, and the money that you've given, that little extra money that you gave, goes toward a nonprofit that has something to do with what's on the license plate. So yeah, like fallen public safety officers, probably the money that you spend here, hopefully at least I would say, goes to a program that helps, maybe the family members of deceased public safety officers. Something like that. Can I get one for just firefighters? Right, yeah, just firefighters. Oregon State University. Okay, so this one is like a college one. Cool. Coastal Playground. GW. I don't know what GW stands for, but, or maybe some like, it's for the type of whale. W is for whale. So this refers to like, I'm assuming pods. So like Gayfesh mentioned that a pod of orcas lives in the Puget Sound or just off the Puget Sound. But I'm guessing that this indicates that there are whale populations that live off the coast of Oregon. Additionally, like different, like whatever this kind of whale is. I'm not good at recognizing whales. Gray whale, apparently. It's the gray whale. Kimberly says that the bike population is highly dependent on locality. Closer to Portland city center is super high bike popularity, and I think it drops a bit as you get away. That makes perfect sense. My ex's parents had a wine-themed house. The whole house? That's exciting. Yeah, whatever happened to those lawsuits? I noticed that Trump mentioned Imam Khalif in his sports ban executive order. Yeah, I don't really know how things work in French court, but it was specifically in French court that she did that lawsuit. It was in France. So whatever France's jurisdiction is, excuse me, it just might be just slow moving. Patient says, I recommend Eola Hills Winery. You can have a free tasting and feed the koi in the gardens. In Rickreal, outside of Western Oregon University territory. Okay, I'll have to look at that. I'll have to look at that later. Eola Hills Winery. I've not been to an actual vineyard or winery, and it's like if the wine tasting is outdoors, I could do that, but of course I would not like eat or drink indoors right now. There's a whole section of Portland that is anti-vehicle. There's a Fred Meyer in the region that only has, I think, 20 parking spots. Nice. Did some kind of law pass in the past that had to do with like mandating a certain number of compact parking spaces? Because I've noticed at a couple of businesses that there will be like a part of the parking lot that just has compact spots. And I'm like, that seems like at some point there was like maybe it's just a tax benefit instead of a law mandating it, because it's not everywhere. Merlot, please. Merlot is okay. I don't like Malbecs. It's Malbecs that I don't like. All of their decor had something to do with wine. Also had an enormous wine glass filled with corks and their own wine cellar. Wow. Posh people, wine culture. Such a fancy way to signal your alcoholism. True, baby squid. Okay, I'm going to take a break from the heat pad. Have you tried Green Fairy absinthe? I've never tried absinthe before. Yeah, yes, everything here is related to getting shit-faced, but like in a tasteful way. coastal playground. The next one is Pollinator Paradise. These are wasps, I think. And there's a flower and like a bunch of flowers. And then it says bzz. Like, what does the BZ stand for? I don't think it stands for anything. I think that it's just on there like that because someone made a creative decision to make the wasps go bzz. That's not a bee, by the way. Those are wasps. You can get fucked if you think that's a bee. And then this is possibly my favorite one. I'm really torn between this one and the bzz one. I'm really a big fan of the bzz one. But this one, like Smokey the Bear. Smokey Bear. Something about the way that he is drawn and shaded here. I think that is a bumblebee, Lux. Well, if it's meant to be a bumblebee, they did it wrong artistically. That is a wasp. Like, I assure you that that is a wasp. Like, maybe the artist intended to draw a bee, but what they drew was a wasp. That is what wasps look like. But yeah, the Smokey the Bear one I think is so funny. Like, I think it's the way that the shadow comes down over his face. But he looks like he's going to murder you. Smokey the Bear is going to enforce forest fire safety practices by murdering anybody who breaks the rules. Rip City Trailblazers. I think this is a sports team. The Ducks sports team. Watch for wildlife. There's a deer. I love the Wine Mom one, but the bzz plate has put it into second place. I know, bzz. It's so good, isn't it? It's so funny. Bumblebees are one of the region's hugest pollinators. I mean, like, it's like Bumblebee. Bumblebee, Oregon. Hold on, Bumblebee. I'm just gonna see if there's like a picture of one. Yeah, this is what a bumblebee look like. This bumblebee. 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 Nope, that's not right. Compared to this, okay? Body segments are longer, eyes are different shape, wings different shape. That's a bumblebee. Bumblebee round, wasp long. They did it wrong if that's supposed to be a bee. Okay, yeah, so we have the Watch for Wildlife. I think that's a cute one. That's, I think, Mount Hood. And then the deer, and he's cute. Fucking Smokey reliving the things he did at My Light. True. Trailblazers is basketball. Okay, okay. And then cultural. I think this is one of the most expensive ones. It's got like mountains over here. There's some stuff in the background. Okay, that's like that's a theater face. So theater, culture. It's like a building. That's a bike. That's a animal like a dog maybe, or a rat or something. There's a fish. There's a wine glass. That's like a vegetable. There's a bat right there. There's just like this is a very busy one. There's a camera. There's a fucking lute. That's like a violin or viola or something. So cultural. So I don't know. Like, that's really vague. It's cool, I guess. It's really busy though. And then you get into like, I think this one's more plain. Why is this one like plain, but it costs $100? Pacific Wonderland. Disabled veteran. ex-POW. And I think that's kind of the end. But like, there's so many cute ones. Not at all what wasps look like, OMG. Listen, I'm autistic and my partner is autistic, and I assure you, I am familiar with the body dimensions of wasps. There are so many different species. I like wasps though. Yes, to be clear, Eric, I am a fan of wasps. Oh, I haven't mentioned it at all today, but the plan for today's stream goal was to get to $100 for today, and then I would pick up the cat and show you the cat, because he's right here, but now I can't. I can't show you the cat unless we get to the stream goal. It's so sad. Who was ever going to get close enough to a license plate to see all those details? I mean, I think, you know, there's enough traffic in the city that you end up like in traffic with people. It's not like highway driving all the time. The really plain one looks cool with vanity plates that spell real words or thoughts. Okay, cool. Neat. Looks like a 1950s plate for vintage car enthusiasts, perhaps. I could see that. Yeah. Like vintage. Yeah, like a vintage style one. But yeah, I regularly see these different license plates out in the wild. You know, I like had the pleasure of showing my partner the B one out in public. It was nice. Hello, Milena. Yeah, we just got done looking through all the different license plate options that they have in Oregon. I've got a couple standout favorites. Wasps are more narrow than that, though. It fucking depends. Some of them evolved to look like bees. Like, I'm sure what you're imagining in your head is that classic, like the brown wasp with the extremely skinny connection points between its various body segments. But like, that's just one kind of wasp. Sorry, I've been absent. We've all been going through it. Yeah, it's tough. I didn't know that you were gonna be so close by. I mean, I guess I'm in the middle of like recovering from my move, so I'm not like psyched about driving to Seattle, but I'm gonna have to at some point. I was gonna talk about something that was more serious than that, I think, and I do not know what happened. Bumblebees are adorable. They are. I'm a big fan of wasps, though. Like, I don't think that bumblebees are as cool as everybody says. I had plans to see multiple people and they all fell through because I immediately got norovirus. No! This is part of why I stopped going to the gym, TBH, because there's things are going around that are more like fomite passing, and norovirus is one of those where it's like, you catch norovirus because some fast food worker did not wash their hands after they went to the bathroom, you know? The person who mentioned not making out the license plate details has never had a person riding 3 inches from their rear bumper, apparently. Yeah, well, and also I think that a lot of these are designed so that you can see them nicely from something of a distance. Not like a large distance. And like they're each distinct enough. The cool looking ones at least are like distinct enough that it's like, okay, that's definitely the Crater Lake one because none of the other ones have a big splotch of blue like that. And it occurred to me also that having this many different custom plates is a great idea if you have a really high population state, because then like, because I think every single one of these are I think like every single one of these, like WC is part of the number on the license plate. SM is part of the number on the license plate. So it increases the total number of like letter and number combinations that you can have. Bzz is still my winner. Yeah. It's definitely a cutie. It's like, it's between Bzz. I like the salmon one. I like the deer one, but I don't think I like it enough. And I like the Smokey the Bear one. Like those are I'm like, I like a lot of these actually. It's gonna be kind of a decision to narrow it down to which one. Wasps are cool until you get attacked by a swarm of them. Well, don't do things that wasps don't like then. That's clearly your fault. Oh, jeez. Different species exist different places. We have a bunch of the more willowy ones and some neat iridescent black parasitic ones. Yeah, I don't think that bees generally have the same body proportions that wasps do. Like, just looking at the close-up of the pollinate, and like, to be clear, wasps are pollinators, but like, I don't see bees with like this long of a body segment here. The abdomen part doesn't tend to be this long. And like the way that their heads are shaped, like that's shaped less like something that's gonna suck up pollen. You know what I mean? Like there's just several things about this that I'm like, that doesn't seem like a bee. But I don't know. It's whatever. It's just some artist made it some artist who probably isn't like super into bugs. I stepped in a yellow jacket nest once and was attacked by a swarm of them. It was an accident, but they didn't know that. Well, that was your fault. Oh no. I got attacked when wasps set up a nest right above the walkway to our garage parking area. Well, how dare you be near where they put up their... Well, what you can do, obviously, like, yeah, it's not always a matter of not doing anything to annoy them. I mean, being super close to a nest is like technically doing something to annoy them, even if they put up the nest in a place that is inconvenient. I was mostly being silly though. But you can, like, I could actually like crochet a very plain brown shape that looks like a hornet's nest and just hang it outside, and that would prevent, because they're very territorial, it would prevent wasps and hornets from building nests in my backyard. Ooh, if we want a cool species of bee, look up carrion bees. Carrion bees? Am I 10,000 wasps in disguise? No. No. Vulture bees, also known as carrion bees, are a small group of 3 closely related South American stingless bee species in the genus Trigona, which feed on rotting meat. Yummy! Just don't mess with yellow jackets, truly. It's apparently meant to be a wild, yellow-faced bumblebee. Okay, there's a whole page on this. Ooh, does that mean that there's a page that tells me where the money is going to if I spend money on this thing? Meet the artist. Oh, a high school student drew this. That's fun. Learn more about how Oregon's first pollinator license plate came to be. Okay, well, it turns out I don't actually want to read this right now. Funds from license plate sales will directly support the identification of bee species found across the state and throughout the Pacific Northwest, research into how to keep honey bee stocks healthy, a greater number of graduate students focusing on the study of bees, and increased capacity in Oregon to tackle the big picture issues that bees face. That's cool. I know that they don't, but wouldn't it be wild if those carrion bees make stink honey? Yes, it would. It's a waspy looking bee. It's a waspy looking bee. So I guess is this one. Like this one is kind of, I mean, it's yeah, it's kind of a waspy looking bee. It's not as waspy looking as the one on the illustration, but like it had, well, yeah. It's a cutie though. Meat, honey. Yum, 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 yum. Delicious. Oh my god, dude. I'm so tired of these fucking cramps. I'm just like mad about it now. I'm just like, at this point, I'm just mad. My friend's place in Montreal had a giant hornet nest on the balcony in the wall, and I didn't even realize until they kept hanging out with me while I was smoking weed out there. Never was attacked, so I just accepted it. Oh, my first place in Montreal. Not my friend's place, my first place in Montreal. Wow. Like the first place you have in Montreal, you're like, I guess I just coexist with hornets now. Oh, so do the vulture bees, do they make some kind of weird honey? Meat honey! The vulture bee is sometimes said to produce a so-called meat honey, but this is a misnomer resulting from scientific uncertainty due to historic confusion of multiple species, each with a slightly different method of processing. In one detailed study of Trigona hypogaea in Brazil, the vulture bees mixed sugary plant products with a proteinaceous paste from regurgitated meat and let it mature to form a sweet substance that was used as food. However, the two resources were initially kept in separate pots in the colony, neither being true honey, i.e., not derived from nectar. Neither being true honey because they were not derived from nectar, but then they were mixed together after being kept separately. In a different study of Trigona necrophagia in Panama, the bees gathered nectar and produced honey, but they also produced a glandular secretion derived from carrion, partially metabolized and used as a protein source, kept completely separate from the honey. In neither case were the bees mixing meat-based substances with floral-derived substances. My meat honey dreams melt before my very eyes. Yeah. Finally, actually non-vegan honey. True. Yeah, sharing my weed with the hornets so that they like me and trust me and get my landlord to leave me alone. Like, yeah, imagine just being friends with the hornet colony in your front yard and your fucking landlord won't even come by anymore. That's so weird. Oh! Oh! Oh, now I know information that I don't know if I want to tell you because it's going to upset you. That reaction I just had was live. That was a live reaction to finding out that vulture bees usually enter a carcass through its eyes. You're welcome. That's your fun nature fact for today. You're welcome. I love that I know that now. I'm looking forward to forgetting it in the future. Looking forward to forgetting that fact later on. Hornets are more friendly towards human life than landlords. True. Yeah, you're welcome. You're very welcome. Yeah, what's up, Riffs? No lead. Yeah. Horrendous. I have some good news that I want to talk about, but I want to take a little break and rest my voice for a second. And then we'll come back and we'll get into. I want to talk about this little bit of good news. I'm feeling better than I was feeling earlier, but I haven't decided if it's going to be a full stream or not tonight because I do keep having cramps still. You know how they say the eyes are the windows to our souls? Is that the reason? You know what's really funny before I leave? When I took that hunting course last year, they said that phrase. They're like, one thing that you need to do when you've brought down an animal and it's not moving anymore is you need to look at its eyes and like see if it has any life in it. Because the eyes are the windows to the souls. It's kind of fun. Like, yeah, there's like a whole procedure for approaching a felled animal before you actually like go retrieve your arrow or whatever. Anyway, I saw that footage, Kitty Tick, of the Amazon River dolphins peeing on each other. It's like very clearly this one is peeing up into the air, and then very clearly this other one is like, I want to be underneath that pee stream. It's like, okay, guys. Good news, impossible. Well, wait with bated breath for the next couple of minutes as I'm just going to rest my voice and get some more water and stuff. So be back momentarily. Don't go anywhere or I will cry. Okay. I totally forgot that I purchased a foot pad for myself. So I've just been standing here directly on the floor. When I had a fatigue relief pad the entire time. So now I'm even more ready to keep going. Fiona, thank you for the 5 gifted subs. 5 gifted memberships, I guess, is more accurate. Members on YouTube enjoy some of the same benefits as my patrons. It's like a weird conglomeration of like some of the rewards my patrons get and some of the rewards that my website subscriptions get. You get something different on each website. But thank you, Fiona, for the 5 gifted memberships. And congratulations, Thorn Among Roses, Infallible Fowl, Anton K, Cursed Chaos, and Jace on for your gifted memberships. You will have, for 30 days, access to private posts and videos. And other shit, probably. I'm just watching the cat be a terrorist right now. I wish there was a way to gift anonymously. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think they have that option. I'm not really sure if that's even an option on the website either. Dizzy, what up? I thought you had like a million billion different things you needed to do right now. I guess thanks for choosing to spend some of your precious time hanging out with us. Because I know you've been busy lately. I'm just complaining about my bodily functions and various political issues. I can only hope that the Brazilian state releases piss dolphin number plates. True. Piss dolphin number plates. I do have a million billion things to do, but I did a bunch like a boss. Nice. I'm in a similar boat. I was like, okay, I need to start a new bank account. Like, all right, I did that. I'm like, okay, I need to go get a new step ladder. Like, okay, I did that. And it's nice. Yeah. It's the ADHD thing where you kind of go like, you're like, I have things I need to do, and they kind of pile up. And then sometimes I'll have a breakout moment where I'm like, I'm not even medicated, and I'm just like, okay, I'm having a hard day right now. What's something I can do to make my day immediately easier? And then I'll have like a list in my head of like, oh, there's this thing like, oh, you know, for example, there's something in the hallway that I have to step around every time I go through the hallway. Like, I'm just going to pick it up and put it somewhere else, or maybe put it away even. And then you're like, oh man, it's nice. Like, things being off of your list is good stuff. I find it's interesting. I have this urge to like get all the way down here with the microphone, which makes me slouch, but I'm trying to have better posture. So it's like, actually, it needs to be like this so that I can stand completely upright. I called the pharmacy, the doctor, and the airline all in the same day, and Bestie and I are shooting down travel plan deets as they come up. Nice! Good going. Alien says, I cleaned the kitchen and the bathroom, and it only took 2 hours and a low-grade asthma attack, but I'm okay. Congratulations! Yeah, my partner, when we first moved in here, said, like, he wanted to float to us the idea of maybe having a weekly day, like, we clean as a family. Maybe not, like, literally as a family, but, like, as a group, we all have a chunk of time that we just spend cleaning something. And I really like that idea. I think it's good to get your roommates and partners on board with those things. So I'm kind of thinking of trying to have, like, a little meeting this weekend. Actually, it seems like it would be most beneficial to just, like, every time you sit down to do the cleaning, just have a brief meeting beforehand. Like, so I noticed that this probably needs to be cleaned. Who wants to do that today? And then let's just go for like 45 minutes until that timer goes off, and then we'll do something else. Honestly, I think that my mom being out dog sitting makes me feel like I gotta handle stuff. Also, I showered this morning, and also the house ain't so damn cold today. Nice. Hell yeah. It's supposed to get warmer next week, I think, according to the what I was looking at. Like, I think it's supposed to get warmer next week. I hope so. Alien wants to ask, what did I mean by depression is fake? Oh, I'm guessing you had to leave the stream. So, the last stream, I said that I think depression is fake. And by that, I mean that, like, I don't think that there is any such thing as, like, your brain permanently has a depression chemical problem where you physically are incapable of producing the appropriate amounts of chemicals or whatever. Like, we don't actually we don't actually do any brain scans. We don't take a sample of spinal fluid. We don't examine, any of the chemicals physically present in your brain when we diagnose people with these things. We just look at clusters of behaviors, right? That's basically what every mental health diagnosis is. It's just like, here is a set of behaviors or symptoms that tend to go together, which is why misdiagnosis is so high, right? So with depression, it's like, I don't believe that there is a permanent physical mechanism by which some people are just physically incapable of having the appropriate chemical reaction to these situations, like of happiness or whatever, which is kind of, I think, what is implied by major depressive disorder, that like you're always going to have difficulty achieving a normal level of like, chemical happiness or whatever. What I believe is that the idea of depression as a permanent state of being like that is a way of pathologizing people's totally normal responses to capitalist alienation and isolation and lack of support and a highly individualistic society. Like, I think that the totally normal and natural reaction to have is to be pretty depressed. If you have a shitty office job and you go home to your empty apartment because your landlord won't let you have a pet, and, there's all these things. I think that depression is a normal state of being for the state of the world that we have right now. So I think that pathologizing that and medicalizing that and throwing pills at that and trying to therapize that feeling away is all just in service to that corporate machine, that fundamental, like, capitalist grinding away of the gears that essentially consumes human effort in an attempt to perpetuate itself. Serotonin deficiency is believed to be part of ADHD too. I was pretty sure that the idea with ADHD was like a dopamine regulation problem, not serotonin, but yeah. Yeah, sometimes the day really takes shit out of you, Dizzy. I understand that. Especially right after I moved, I was like, I am going to take a nap. Or I'm going to feel like shit until it's time to go to bed because I refuse to take a nap. Aren't there scientists working on a cure for autism? I don't think that that is a mainstream scientific goal. I'm sure that there's someone out there doing something, but like, also it's hard to do ethical human testing, so Dizzy says, I think depression is circumstantially / environmentally triggered. I think that's why so many people fuck off to live a life hiking the Appalachian Trail. True, yeah. Like, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Tons of people, if forced to live in a miserable modern life, will either put a gun to their head or drop out of society to live in the woods. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to drop out of society to live in the woods. I'm trying to convince one of my friends and his new girlfriend to come fucking move up here. Yes, most people with autism not wanting to be cured. Yeah, that's part of what makes doing that research hard too. The cure for autism is to stop making autists live in such a damn loud cityscape. God, I would go. That's the problem that I had back before when I lived in Kansas City is like, it's like you would have to drive a decent distance to get to a place where you could take a quiet walk that wasn't like immediately next to a bunch of cars. Like, I need quiet neighborhoods that are away from cars. Yeah, what a great characterization. Yeah, yo, we're making progress on curing that, quote, doesn't like to be poked disease so that we can keep poking people because God forbid we stop poking people. I'd love to live out in the woods, but I need my electrolysis. Listen, I just want to be like about like a 5 to 10 minute drive away from like a normal sized city or town. Not a big city. Like a normal sized city or town. I just want to be 5 to 10 minutes away from that. You know, I want to be like within a half an hour drive of a hospital, if not much shorter. I'm like probably like ideally I'm much shorter, you know, in the event of a heart attack or something, but at least a clinic of some kind needs to be closer than that. But if that's true, then bipolar disorder is only intrinsically mania. No. So when I'm saying like major depressive disorder is not real, that's not me saying like the depressive component of manic depressive disorder isn't real. That's not what I'm saying. That's a very silly way to interpret what I said, Jay. I feel like you gotta know that that's a very silly way to interpret what I've said. Yeah, we should not make people live on the side of a major road. Or at the very minimum, like, the sidewalks need to be, like, at least 10 feet wide, you know? Like, I need to feel, like, a significant distance between myself and the road. And bike lanes help that, too. If you're walking on a road with a bike lane, there's a little bit more distance, but, you know, I prefer, yeah, a nice wide, yeah, like a nice wide berth. Oh, itchy. We're making outlandish clickbait intros to Primer on the social model of disability and mental illness. Honestly, like Primer on the social model of disability and mental illness seems like something that I should write down right now so that I can put it on my list of video essays that I intend to make. I need to get back into video. I'm trying this week. My plan was to do it today, but I'm period cramping today, so it's not happening. Primer, because I think honestly that it must be my activism in disability, and it must be my exposure to disability activism that led me to this place of feeling like I'm gonna. So it's like it's multifaceted because I'm disabled, and there's the model of disability and what that even means, and it's mostly the fact that society doesn't accommodate you, and then there's the whole gender dysphoria thing, and the fact that that's also a normal part of human existence that has been pathologized and only exists as an aberration because of the very strict framework that we're given to work within. And then, so like, of course, I'm going to question the concept of diagnosis of mental illness, and I'm going to question the construct of like, are you really mentally ill, or is it that society doesn't accommodate you? Are you really disabled, or is it that society doesn't accommodate you? Like, disability is defined by whether or not you can conform to these societally established standards, such as being able to walk upstairs. So it's like it just feels like a natural relationship between those three things. So that sounds like a whole video essay I could make, actually. Primer on the, what did you say? The social model? The social model of disability, mental illness, and transness. See, this is the kind of fucking high level thoughts that I want to actually explore in my content as a you know, as a YouTuber. I view my stream life and my video life separately now. Weird. Excuse me. Kitty Tick, I don't know if you've seen it floating around. I actually haven't taken the time to watch it. But there was a video I saw recently float across my timeline that was basically saying you need to be cautious about engaging in rhetoric describing ADHD and autism as evolutionarily favorable, because that is also a type of eugenics. It's just an autism supremacist type of eugenics. I just think that's an interesting concept. I haven't watched the video because honestly, like, I feel like I can hold the opinion that ADHD is highly evolutionarily adaptive without that necessarily implying that I think that it is how everyone should be, or rather that, like, to say that I have a more evolutionarily adaptive brain than someone who doesn't have ADHD, or even to say that, like, you know, my brain is better suited to survival, is not to say necessarily implicitly that therefore other people should be killed or everybody should be like me. You know, I feel like those are two different statements. Like, I can acknowledge objectively that that ADHD and the ability to hyperfocus on a task, but also the ability to be easily distracted and notice threats, like, I think that that is highly adaptive. You know, and you, I guess, could potentially argue that in the same way that, you know, not being able to see and people who have glasses have proliferated because we live in a society that supports that, like, maybe, you know, non-ADHD people are actually functionally disabled in the same way that people with glasses are functionally disabled. It's just that we've created a society that basically caters to the way in which they are disabled, you know? Because of my specific dyslexia, I will destroy you at Scrabble, but I suck at Boggle because the directions are different. Oh no! Ooh, thank you for that recommendation. That would be a great idea to read if I ever actually decide to make this essay. Neuroqueer Heresies, Notes on the Neurodiversity Paradigm. I will keep that tab open for now. Probably beneficial to a population for it to have a mix of neurotypes. Agreed. Yeah, sure. It's like, but so, you know, keeping with the glasses thing, we don't actually know that it's beneficial to a population to have that specific neurotype that is non-ADHD, in the same way that it is probably not functionally beneficial to a society for the population to have a bunch of people who cannot see. For my husband has about 9 inches of usable distance in front of his eyeballs. So, like, and actually he can see much better up close than I can. Well, that's partially because I'm, well, you know, maybe, yeah. I don't know if he has much better vision than an average person up close because I specifically am farsighted. But it's an interesting question of, like, you know, it probably, like, we don't have a bunch of people who can't see very well because that's evolutionarily advantageous. We have a bunch of people who can't see very well who live in society because we've figured out a workaround, and those people can survive and reproduce because of the technology that we've used to support that. So it's like we don't actually know whether it's beneficial to a population to have non-autistic people and non-ADHD people in it. Like, they just are here because we're capable of producing food now in a way that supports that particular. Like, yeah, I think ADHD probably is suited to a hunter-gatherer survival situation, and, like, maybe that is less adaptive now, but, like, you know, it's just interesting. I wonder which came first. Like, which way of brain working happened first? Did ADHD happen first? Because people treat ADHD and autism like they're aberrations because it's, like, proportionally a smaller percentage of the society. Dizzy also points out that there's a lot of variability with autism and ADHD. They're similar, or sorry, they're not like singular things. They have a range of symptoms each. Glasses are technically eugenics. Raising cripples is eugenics. Any choice we make that affects the overall genetic makeup of a population is eugenics. to me, I think you should be letting everyone live. Even Down syndrome people are so wonderful to be around. Dizzy says glasses are not eugenics. That's not what eugenics means. Disability aids are not eugenics. I think Kitty is trying to say that, like, and I don't know if this is the case, but that, like, making a deliberate alteration to the gene pool is eugenics, regardless of which direction you go with it. But I've only heard eugenics in a term, in a context which tends to imply trying to perfect the human race rather than trying to accommodate and increase diversity. But I don't know if it's maybe one of those situations where it's kind of like the word discriminate and the word prejudice can be used, even the word molest can be used in contexts where it does not imply what it typically implies. Like, typically we think of prejudice and discrimination as bad, but they aren't always necessarily. So maybe, like, eugenics tends to be associated with white supremacist and other bigotries, you know, influencing the choices that we make on a policy level with what kind of people we're going to encourage existing. Yeah. Like, yeah, I've always heard the term being used in this very specific way, but, like, it could be that the original use of the term is more generic and, like, could apply to any influence of the population. I think I agree based on what I'm seeing of the looking at Wikipedia and looking at the Oxford definition. I think that there is an explicit attempt to improve the genetic quality of the population involved with the word eugenics. Whereas a policy decision that seeks to potentially increase the number of people who, like, for example, require additional support, like people who are blind or deaf or whatever, like, they're, you know, people are just born deaf to hearing parents, you know. So, like, if we try to increase the amount of, like, support that they have and allow more of them to exist, and, like, people with Down syndrome, you know, whatever, like, you know, choosing not to abort or, you know, perhaps even disallowing abortion based on that specific thing, which I'm not arguing for as a policy position. I'm just floating ideas. But, like, trying to encourage those people to live is not eugenics, because that is not necessarily being done with the explicit aim of, like, perfecting the human race genetically. Because I guess increasing the number of people with Down syndrome isn't inherently decreasing the number of people who don't have Down syndrome. So it's not like by trying to support parents who have kids with Down syndrome or whatever policies you put in place to accomplish that goal, that does not necessarily imply a desire to eradicate people who don't have Down syndrome. And this is part of why the Great Replacement idea is so fucking stupid, because just wanting to create favorable conditions for brown people does not imply that you want to create disfavorable conditions for white people. Eric says, I think we need to instill just taking better care of each other. The reality is families struggle to afford care for their disabled kids, and that can lead to catastrophic results for all involved. I mean, yeah, of course, like, and that is an area where we fall short as a society. And, like, this is one of the ways in which our country, as Americans, I don't, you know, obviously I have an international audience, but, like, as Americans, and many of us in other English speaking Western countries are very eugenicist. And one of the ways in which we are is that we don't provide support to families who have disabled kids. that we don't provide them with what they need, that one parent often has to, like, with a high needs child, and I'm not trying to say like all Down syndrome kids are high needs, but like that's the idea behind having a chromosomal anomaly, is that you are higher needs, especially when you're younger. Like, you need a little bit more support to become independent, right? And the goal is to let you live the independent life that you want to live. So often one parent has to quit their job in order to become a full-time caregiver. And so then you're like struggling, and you have additional medical appointments and like additional, neuropsych stuff that has to be done. Even if you're not really driving that, the doctors will probably still want to maintain contact to make sure your kid is hitting benchmarks or whatever. But yeah, like that we don't support families through that. We really kind of don't. Like, we don't have universal health care to pay for all those medical appointments. That we don't have universal basic income to cover that parent who needs to quit their job. Like, wouldn't it be great if you could be considered a state carer who now is assigned to care for your kid and gets a salary, assuming we don't do the UBI thing. Anyway. Eric says, I'm in Canada, and even without the healthcare costs in the same capacity, my family has been financially ruined and traumatized by taking care of me and my brother, who were sickly kids. It's hard. Yeah. Like, yeah, just the fact that you need money to pay for your place of living. I don't think even in Canada that all of your, if you needed a wheelchair or a prosthesis, like all of that stuff is not necessarily covered in the, fully, at least. Some of that stuff you might still have to pay for, or even access privately. And just needing more space if your kids have like equipment that they need in order to support their life, like a CPAP, for example. And like, yeah, being able to afford the CPAP, and like, does the Canadian government just give you one? Or do you have to figure out something else? I'm sure that there are, yeah. Like, and like, again, even just going down to one income, even if there weren't extra costs, like, okay, great. Now you have one income supporting 4 people, and that isn't tenable anymore pretty much anywhere you live in the world. Baby Squid says, here's the thing. A while back, some guy was going off about how the Great Replacement is real because there are way more non-white people in Britain now compared to 100 years ago. To which I pointed out, yeah, and there's also way more white people now than there were 100 years ago. Like, all right, dumbasses. It's like, you could say, oh, the number of non-white people has increased from 15% to 17%, and that would be more cause to fearmonger, but I don't know that those demographics have shifted even 2%. Eric says, yeah, my mom had to quit her job for one, so that she could take me when I was too sick to go to school. Travel to specialists hours away, supplies, special food, dental, and my equipment for being blind is costly. Yeah. Jesus. Like, yeah. The idea of having to pay for the training of a service animal. Hot take, rent and prices aren't going down ever. What we need to demand universally is more money, more welfare and disability, higher minimum wage. I mean, I think that we can advocate for both. You know, like, I think that you can advocate for rent controls. Maybe the price won't come down, but you can try to get the price to come up. Or you could say, like, okay, well, you know, the price of your rental should be fixed to a certain percentage of, you know, what someone would make if they were working full time at minimum wage in the state. I have like a squishy little floor pad, and I'm just enjoying exploring that feeling with my feet right now. Trying to get funding to get a puppy to help me get around without my partner easier. Hopefully my blind institute pulls through. Yeah, like the whole thing about being disabled, it's a tax on living. I got a bunch of squishy mats in the kitchen to extend the time I can stay on my feet. Yeah, it feels nice. And I actually find that I think that for streaming, I prefer to stand, which I wasn't expecting. I was kind of expecting that I would be tired and need to sit down. And like especially today, like right now, in fact, I'm having a huge spike of a cramp. But it feels better standing up, even though I'm tired. And like, yeah, I do this I'll play World of Warcraft. I mentioned this earlier this week. Ooh, I got to 104 likes today. I've gotten 0 donations so far today. Or no, that's not true. I got memberships, but those don't show up in the same way. I won't get those until next month, first of all, and also they don't show up in the same way on the donation thing. So it's like, technically I did get some donations, and thank you very much for that, Fiona. But yeah, just an acknowledgement. I won't actually see any of that money until next month. Okay, so wait, hold on. Wait, come back. No! I will go ahead and count those memberships as part of the donations, though, for today. So there's that. It makes more space in the abdomen when you aren't crunching the viscera by sitting with the legs bent at the hips. Yeah. And I've like gained weight recently too, so like there's the pressure on my abdomen is so much more than usual. But yeah, it feels nice. And like I'll play World of Warcraft and be walking around if I'm traveling from one place to the next in WoW, for example, like cuz sometimes it takes 10 minutes to just go from one place to another. I'll just stand here and like basically march in place, get like a little teeny tiny bit of cardio for 10 minutes. Excuse me. Oh gosh. Yeah, I'm excited for you to get the dog, Eric. I hope you can raise the funds easily. Your swaying reminds me of what I and most machine operators do at work all day long. Listen, I used to work on my feet, okay? I've done the retail thing. But yeah, and also I fidget all the time anyway. You might not always see it, but when I'm sitting, I'm always like bouncing my leg, or like I will sometimes spin in my chair. I'm always moving. I'm always doing something. Ah. Mm. Let me see. Oh yeah, I said I was going to cover some good news when I got back, and then I immediately got distracted. So you know how we're all really concerned that there's going to be more neo-Nazis now? Which is like a completely valid concern. You know, we're worried. Why did this happen? Yeah, we're concerned about, you know, because the past couple of years, I mean, it's been something that I've been covering numerous times, covering these, you know, neo-Nazi groups, like marching around places in Ohio. This is like the common narrative that I've been covering for a bit now. So, neo-Nazis walking around Ohio, and then typically people just are like freaked out by that and they go away and nothing happens. But from the Columbus Dispatch, Body cam footage shows neo-Nazis who marched in Short North claimed to be victims of violence. This actually is from November 25, so this is actually from last year, and I missed this one. I think it's in the midst of moving and stuff. So there was a group of neo-Nazis marching through the Short North this month. They ended up not being arrested because police determined that they were not the aggressors in a fight which broke out. The neo-Nazis told police that they had never experienced a response like the one they received in Columbus. They said people pulled guns on them and threw cans and vegetables as they marched, waved flags, and yelled racial slurs. One of the officers noted that the men were, quote, covered in pepper spray. The November 16th march drew stern condemnation from City Hall to the White House, but no arrests were made. A group of black men organized a counter-march the next day, following the same route in the Short North with a message of peace. In a statement, Columbus police previously said they could not find sufficient probable cause to file any charges against the neo-Nazis. See, this is where Germany did it right. Germany got it right. It's like, being a Nazi is illegal. There is no free speech around being a Nazi. If you're a Nazi, it's illegal and you can't do it. Dizzy. No. Here, friend, take my monies and look at this pic of my dog in a parka. I don't have access. You have to give me access. I can't see it. I will try to see it. I know. Or just take a screenshot. I don't know. But thank you for the $30 donation. That's very generous of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Cat. So if we can get $45 more, I'll go get my cat and I'll force him to be on camera. And you know how much he loves that. You know how much he enjoys that. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty exciting. Also, like, they pulled over... So this is the thing that I don't get. Police detain a group of neo-Nazis in the back of a U-Haul following a march in the Short North on November 16th. But it's not legal to just be a passenger in the back of a vehicle like this. You have to be in a seat and you have to be buckled in. This is a U-Haul. This is illegal. This is enough cause to at least ticket them, if not arrest them. Like, it's more than scot-free. White House condemning Nazis. Not going to be seeing that for a while. True. Okay, checking my Discord DMs. Dog. Puppy. Look at the baby. I don't even like dogs, and this is a cute baby. Wow. Look at how fluffy. I like how because of the, like, maybe because of the haircut or because of the way that this shirt fits, but he looks like he's been photoshopped into this. Like the head, like the area around right here, it looks like he's been photoshopped in. That's funny. Yeah, she just looks photoshopped in. Fake dog. Fake dog. I maybe have missed this other story that happened. Yeah, I don't know how that would work out. Whoever insures U-Haul needs to drop their insurance because they're illegally transporting livestock. Yeah. Oh my god, I'm so sleepy. Ooh, can I show you some exciting stuff? So I went to an Asian market, and I got ube mochi. Where am I? Ube mochi and taro mochi. I already tried the ube one. It was pretty good. It was weird. It smells so weird. Like, it smells super savory. Which I guess it's like a potato, but I associate it with desserts because people always say that they have ube with desserts. And then the other one I got is taro, and that's another thing. It's like taro is often associated with um dessert, and I was like, those both seem like they would be yummy. But like, I think the Japanese just have like a kind of different concept of what dessert is. And to be fair, like my palate for dessert is trained on like an American palate. Uh, like I'm calibrated to like. Sorry, I'm having a really intense cramps moment. Uh, like obviously I'm calibrated to like Hershey's milk chocolate, you know, and other insane delicacies like that, and like fucking cheesecake, you know. And like even finer desserts like tiramisu are less sweet. Like which are less sweet, but they're still sweet in a type of flavor profile that like is more familiar. I think that a lot of Japanese sweet treats have a flavor profile that tends to be first of all more fruity. But also like yeah, all these root vegetables like and the red bean paste thing is like, you know, they have like this much more muted but still sweet, but like yeah, much more complex, much more nuanced, much less intense, or at least less intensely sugary. Maybe not less intense flavor, but less intense sugar wise. Mm. Yeah, red bean buns. I'm a big fan of red bean mochi. I almost got red bean mochi and I decided not to, but I did think about it. Drink a little bit more water. There's so many products I'm looking forward to trying at the Asian market. It's like how chocolate used to be eaten pre-Columbian times, or how chocolate tastes when you're like 65% cacao and up. Yeah, like how chocolate is not that sweet, and it actually has a strong, bold, complex, non-sweet flavor profile. Japanese desserts are like LaCroix as far as sweet factor. True. Transported in a truck near a dessert. I say as I whip out a bar of 72% cacao chocolate. You might appreciate this, Diz. Um, I made something last night that I had seen before, uh, and I finally had the chance to make it. Basically, like I made a dinner, and for the side, nothing special. It was quinoa with onions and garlic and garden peas. But technically, the main entree that I made was a tofu chocolate mousse, for which I used like 14 ounces of silky soft tofu, and then like 7 ounces of 70% cacao dark chocolate, and I used a little bit of maple syrup to flavor it. I think I'm gonna do something different next time, but basically like I made chocolate mousse with tofu and chocolate, and like I think that it's intended to be vegan that way. Uh, but I think next time I'll use 1 bar of milk chocolate and 1 bar of dark chocolate, and then maybe skip the maple syrup or add a different sweetener if it needs it at that point. But it was really yummy. I mean, it was less yummy than I wanted it to be, but I'm looking forward to doing it again slightly differently in a way that tastes good. But it was interesting. And so technically, last night I made a fully vegan dinner, not intentionally. I even thought, oh, I should add some butter to the quinoa at the end because like buttered peas, and I didn't end up doing it just because I forgot. But yeah, I made vegan dinner last night accidentally. I meant to make a vegetarian dinner. And peas are good. Yes, peas. I don't actually like peas very much, but they're super good for you. It's like eating oatmeal. I'm not like excited to eat oatmeal, but I will eat oatmeal because it's good for my heart. And like I'll eat peas like because they're really super super healthy for you. Have you had lychees, longan, or rambutans yet? No. My partner did buy a can of lychee, and I've had lychee flavored candy. But so we're gonna try it for the first time ever, having the whole fruit. We got a can of lychee fruit, so I'm excited to try that. They also did have cans of rambutan. They had longan, but I think it was like longan, like jelly or something. Maybe not the actual fruit. Oatmeal is exciting because brown sugar is the superior sugar. Yeah, but if you're also trying to like watch your consumption total for the day, then you don't want to add sugar to your oatmeal. Ooh, I make malto meal sometimes with cinnamon and pepper, and that's very fun. Haven't done it a lot lately because my stomach's been fragile. That's too bad. I've discovered that I like grits more than I like malto meal. I'm a big fan of grits. Lychee, longan, and rambutan are all similar. Okay, cool. Sugar snap peas are my fave. If it wasn't so damn hard to water a garden, I would grow snap peas every year. Uh, you might be interested, Dizzy, in maybe like learning some programming stuff. Because like one thing that I am almost certainly going to do in the future is, well, I mean, he was the one who kind of offered the idea in the first place, but my husband can program stuff and do some basic engineering and building stuff. So it's like, if I ever have a garden, I'm going to try to have him automate the watering as much as possible. Cream of wheat is also dope. It's cream of wheat that I was thinking of. Oh, because my partner was like, have you had malto meal before? And I was like, I think maybe. It's cream of wheat that I had as a kid. Thank you, Riffs No Leads. But I like hominy. I think that grits are better. Republican Western Insurance Company covers U-Haul, but it is part of Amerco, which is owned by U-Haul itself. Curious if the owner of U-Haul is pro-Nazi. Interesting. You know what's a great non-nutritive sweetener? Monk fruit. My dad started using it for his diet. It's remarkably better than stevia. Interesting. I actually hate cream of wheat. I guess I'll have to just fucking buy cream of wheat and figure out if I like cream of wheat. I would be content to just eat grits. But grits do not have the heart-healthy benefits that oatmeal does. I might try to become one of those overnight oats people, because that seems easy. If you just have a bottle and you put oats in it and like some milk or something. IDK why the malt in the malto meal makes a difference, but it does. I don't know what's in cream of wheat, but malto meal is specifically wheat and barley. So maybe the barley in it. Gayfesh says, I have tried monk fruit and I do not prefer it over stevia. The secret is to put plenty of butter on the grits. Guys, I got a high lipids count when I got my fucking blood tested last year, so I'm trying to like, although I think it might just be because for a couple of weeks right before I got that blood work done, I had been eating a lot of hot dogs and like cheese and stuff. So maybe I was just high, elevated lipids because for a period of time I was eating a lot of stuff that does that to you. But yeah, I'm trying to, limit the amount of butter, increase the fiber. Oats go in the yogurt. Oh, okay. I buy a really high protein yogurt, so that would be great if I like had a high protein yogurt and the oats. That would probably be a great way to start the day. How do you make overnight oats? Hot dogs, they're yummy. Tonight, I'm making fried fish because you can just like buy already cooked fried fish. You know how that goes? And it's in the freezer and then you put it in the oven. And I also got some steak fries that are frozen. So again, tonight's easy dinner. I was like, I'm going to stream and then I would like to do something for dinner, but I don't want to like have to actually cook. So yeah, we pop things from the freezer into the oven / the air fryer. And then I bought some coleslaw, already made coleslaw. I didn't even bother to make my own coleslaw. Add some fruit slices too, or blueberries. Blueberries in my overnight oats. It looks like this person has put like a bunch of seeds or something in there. God, that's gross looking. Excuse me. Butter salt for popcorn can be good on grits. Also, you don't have to worry about too much salt. I could make cheesy, tasty grits by adding in nutritional yeast, which is also something that I bought recently. Respect the hustle of going on a hot dog rich diet right before a blood test. I wasn't really thinking about it in that terms. I just was like, I needed a lot of convenience meals in a short period of time and just wasn't really conscientious about what I was eating. Dizzy said, when I was eating vegan for 150 bucks a month, I used to make griddle flatbreads out of whole wheat flour, olive oil, salt, and water, and then ate them warm and fresh with applesauce. And God, I miss that. Ooh, that does sound yummy. Delicious. Okay, well, I have just very suddenly hit a moment where I'm like, wow, I'm really tired and my back hurts and I don't want to do this anymore. So, I came here for 3 hours. That was the goal, unless someone wants to give me $45 real quick and then I'll go find the cat. But I think I'm just very suddenly done being on stream. And I will plan to see you all on Sunday. I'm supposed to get my floating shelves and I intend to have those installed, so there will at least be something visually interesting back here when I see you next time. But yep, much love, Horties, much love, Muses, whatever we're calling you these days. And